This episode is brought to you by Tanmay Shah. That's me. Best way to support this show is by sharing this with your friends and dropping a comment and review on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can become my patron and a sponsor. That's not all. You can buy Rocklaz merchandise and NFTs and much more. See all the links in description for details.
Rocklaz Radio.
Rocklaz.
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 Rocklaz Radio with Tanmay Shah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rocklaz Radio. Today is a very interesting episode. We have with us an entrepreneur, an educator from Democratic Republic of Congo, uh, Goretti Cat. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today? Bonjour.
Bonjour, Mbote. I'm okay. Happy to meet you today.
Amazing. So, Goretti is a founder and CEO of Minzoto Club and PR and activities manager in Indigenous City. She has a degree in organizational and corporate communications and is a member of Global Network of Educators, 100.org. She's a facilitator, trainer, entrepreneur in leadership and personal development. Goretti first worked for young people's development in activities for 5 years. During the time, she acquired 3 leadership certificates after helping to set up 4 youth support structures in universities. After that, she set up Minzoto Club. In 2018, she was awarded the title of 100 Young Pages of Hope in DRC, that's Democratic Republic of Congo, an annual diploma honoring 100 countries' most active young people of the year. So glad to have you on the show today. Please tell us more about you and what do you do.
Alors, je m'appelle Goretti Cat.
My name is Goretti Cat.
Et ça fait donc plusieurs années que je travaille dans l'éducation et l'accompagnement des jeunes.
It's been a few years that I've been working with accompanying youth and educating youth.
Précisément 7 ans.
It's been 7 years specifically.
Et dès le départ, pendant les 5 premières années, nous avons créé des organisations universitaires qui n'existaient pas.
We started creating university platforms that didn't exist.
Il faudrait comprendre qu'en RDC, beaucoup de programmes sont nouveaux.
And you need to understand that in the DRC, within our context, a lot of our programs are very new to the setting.
Alors, il était question de trouver des méthodes éducatives adaptées à notre contexte.
So it was very important to find methods of education that would be suitable within our context.
Et suite à ces 5 ans de travail, nous avons découvert qu'il y avait un besoin, surtout en entrepreneuriat.
And after 5 years, we discovered that there was a specific need, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship.
C'est pour ça que mon équipe et moi avons créé Minzoto Club.
And that is why my team and I created Minzoto Club.
Je suis aussi certifiée en ingénierie pédagogique.
I'm also trained in pedagogical engineering.
Également certifiée diplômée en communication et en journalisme.
I'm also trained in journalism and communication. I have a degree in that.
Et enfin certifiée en entrepreneuriat social.
And lastly, certified as a social entrepreneur.
Donc, le milieu du terrain éducatif et entrepreneurial est vraiment notre quotidien et la mission qu'on s'est donnée, moi personnellement, mais mon équipe entière aussi.
And so education with regards to entrepreneurship specifically is the field that we have chosen, my team and I.
I hope that is enough. And if you want to know more, I'm ready.
Yes. Let's go. It's so amazing to hear about innovations you're bringing in your country. You're a pioneer for many courses that you have created in Congo. So, can you tell us what exactly you're doing at Minzoto Club and how you have innovated in the entrepreneurship sector?
OK. Il faudrait déjà savoir que l'éducation le système éducatif était jusque-là traditionnel.
So the context within the DRC in terms of education was very traditional
Donc,
before this.
il n'y avait pas des outils pour apprendre des notions très importantes, par exemple comme le codage, la robotique, et on utilisait encore des tableaux.
So tools to learn encoding or
Robotique,
robotics,
sciences,
sciences, art were non-existent because we were still using blackboards.
Et ce qui fait qu'il y a une adéquatance, mismatch, une adéquatance entre les besoins du marché, les besoins de l'emploi.
So there was a mismatch between the need with regards to the sector of working
Et les compétences apprises à l'école qui sont très théoriques.
and whatever was being taught at school or at university, which was very theoretical. It was not practical.
Donc, il fallait remplir ce gap, créer des programmes qui permettent aux adolescents de développer les compétences demandées sur le marché.
So the idea here was to breach this gap and create programs that would help teenagers specifically learn skills that they would need in the working space.
C'est pour ça que nous avons mis en place des ateliers, des workshops très simples qui durent 2 heures.
That's why we put in place 2-hour workshops.
Vraiment dans des ateliers très pratiques, notamment
that are very practical
robotique,
in robotics,
coding,
coding,
sciences,
sciences,
sport,
sports,
cuisine,
cooking.
Vraiment tous les aspects techniques qui pourraient développer dès les jeunes âges des compétences.
All the technical aspects that would be used from, to be built from a young age for later.
Mais on ne s'arrête pas là.
But that's not where we stop
Ce
at.
n'est que la première étape.
That's only the first step.
La deuxième étape, c'est que l'enfant, après avoir appris à créer quelque chose, participe à des programmes de développement personnel.
And so after that, we go into personal development. So after a child has learned how to build these very practical things and learn practical skills, we want them to learn personal development.
Il faudrait qu'il ait confiance en lui.
He should learn to be very proud of himself, like to hold himself well.
Qu'il ait une vision pour lui et pour le pays.
That he'd have a good vision of his own life and for the country as well.
Qu'il ait une mentalité d'adaptabilité qui est très demandée à l'heure actuelle.
That they would have a mentality of adaptability, which is very needed in our context right now.
Et ensuite, d'être prêt à s'associer au digital.
And to be ready, thirdly, to be ready to associate themselves with the digital world.
Donc, après 1 mois d'ateliers créatifs et ateliers de développement personnel,
so after a month of creative and personal development workshops,
on organise 4 expositions par an.
We have 4 expositions each year,
durant lesquelles ces adolescents vendent leurs œuvres.
During which these teenagers sell the work that they've made.
C'est vraiment notre valeur ajoutée.
This is our value, the value added that we have.
Donc, programme workshop, programme de développement personnel, exposition et vente.
So we have workshops that are for capacity building and then personal development, and then lastly they sell whatever they've made.
Et je pense, il y a plein d'images d'ailleurs sur nos différentes plateformes qu'on peut voir.
And so there are many pictures on our different platforms that you can see of the work that we do.
C'est quelque chose qui n'était pas fait encore en RDC.
It's something that didn't exist yet within the DRC.
Et aujourd'hui, après 3 ans d'existence,
and today, after 3 years of existing,
plus d'1 millier de personnes ont participé à nos activités.
More than 1 million people have participated in our activity.
Donc pour nous, c'est vraiment une réussite et nous comptons tripler pour l'année qui arrive.
And so we're very happy with the results and we would like to triple in terms of impact in the year that's coming.
Donc associer éducation et entrepreneuriat pour un impact d'abord chez l'adolescent et ensuite dans la communauté.
And so to have the couple effort of development, capacity building and entrepreneurship education so that the teenager is impacted personally but also impacts their community.
Donc en bref, c'est ce que Minzoto Club fait.
That's what Minzoto Club does in a nutshell.
Wow, I'm so glad to hear that. I was in an entrepreneurship club as well in college, so my teacher will be very happy to see this episode of this show. You creating such a big impact on the lives of students there. Can you share some examples of achievements of your students?
Yes, nous avons eu une adolescente de 16 ans qui s'appelle Even, comme le ciel.
We had a teenager who's 16 years old, who's called Heaven, like heaven,
Et elle a été très timide,
and she was very shy.
mais seulement elle avait le talent. Et durant les ateliers de développement personnel, elle a dit qu'elle avait le rêve de créer une marque de vêtements.
And within the workshop, she mentioned that she wanted to have a clothing line.
Et durant le mois d'atelier, on l'a accompagnée. Elle a pris son argent de poche pour créer des vêtements elle-même.
And during the workshops for 1 month, she took her own money and used it to start building a clothing line by herself.
Durant l'exposition, durant les workshops, elle a aussi appris à pitcher son projet.
And during the workshops, she learned how to pitch her project.
Donc, après un mois de workshop, durant l'exposition que nous organisons, elle a pitché son projet et elle a vendu pour $150, ce qui est égal au salaire de certains Congolais.
And during our expositions, the exhibitions, she was able to sell her clothes that she had made, which she sold for about $150, which is sometimes similar to what some people get paid.
Et elle a gagné ça en un jour,
And
alors
she had that in 1 day.
pendant que certains le gagnent en un mois.
Whereas we have some people within the DRC working for that as a monthly wage.
Et aujourd'hui que je vous parle, elle a maintenant 18 ans et elle a lancé sa marque.
And as I speak to you, she is 18 today, and now she's fully launched her clothing line.
Ce n'est qu'un exemple.
That's only one example.
Il y a plusieurs adolescents comme ça qui sont venus dans nos ateliers et nous avons dû, durant les développements personnels, leur dire qu'ils pouvaient réaliser leurs rêves.
And there are many teenagers who came to us like that within the workshops. We told them they could accomplish their dreams.
Et après un mois, ils ont fait des résultats exceptionnels.
And after 1 month, they had exceptional results.
En art,
in arts,
agroalimentaire,
in agro-food,
en sport,
in sports,
en musique.
in music.
Et vraiment, ce sont des success stories qui sont même accessibles sur nos plateformes.
And these are success stories that you can see on our different platforms.
Mais aussi des success stories qui prouvent qu'il y a encore beaucoup de potentiel ailleurs. Je voudrais préciser.
And these are the success stories that also show that there's still a lot to be done, a lot of potential that can still be uncovered. I'd like here to mention specifically
que nous accompagnons donc les adolescents entre 12 et 19 ans.
And so I'd like to say here that we encourage, within our programs, we take care of teenagers between the ages of 12 and 19.
Mais depuis l'année passée, nous avons ouvert aux adultes parce qu'il y a eu une forte demande.
But ever since last year, it's been opened to adults because there was a huge demand, high demand.
En ce moment même, j'ai une mère et sa fille qui vont participer à nos programmes toutes les deux.
And right now I have a mother and a daughter who are both participating to these workshops.
Parce que la demande s'est fait voir que c'était pas seulement les adolescents qui avaient besoin de ça, mais même ceux qui étaient étudiants et parfois même des adultes qui se rendaient compte qu'ils en avaient besoin.
Because we realized that it's not only teenagers who needed the skills that we were teaching, even adults realized that they needed some of these skills, and so there was a high demand.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear that. How do you think your personal background or your story has influenced you and set you apart in the work that you're doing today?
Wow, c'est une question spéciale parce que c'est vrai que ce que je fais comme travail, c'est vraiment le résultat de mon passé.
That's a very interesting question because it is very true that the work that I do today is very due to what I've gone through in life.
Alors, très très jeune, j'ai été séparée de mes parents à 12 ans pour aller étudier ailleurs, dans un village.
When I was 12 years old, very young, I had to go live in a village. were so separated from my parents.
Alors, mes parents habitaient dans la ville de Kinshasa. C'est la capitale, l'impressionnante Kinshasa. Mais pour préserver leur enfant, moi, j'ai dû aller étudier dans un internat au village.
And Kinshasa is the capital city, very developed and all that comes with it. But because they wanted to preserve me from different influences, they found it fit to send me into boarding school, but in a village.
C'était un choc culturel et un choc mental, un choc émotionnel.
So that was a cultural shock, emotional shock, mental shock.
C'était difficile.
It was very hard.
Mais,
However,
dans cet internat,
in this specific boarding school,
qui était un internat de prêtres,
which was a Catholic boarding school,
il y avait beaucoup d'activités
there
pour
were lots
adolescents.
of activities for teenagers.
Donc, et ils avaient un test pour identifier ceux qui avaient un leadership et leur donner des responsabilités.
And they had a specific test which would identify those who had inborn leadership skills, and when they'd be identified, they would be placed into specific leadership roles.
Et je savais pas que j'étais une leader.
And I didn't know I was a born leader.
Et j'étais juste surprise, on me donnait responsabilité tout le temps, tout le temps, tout le temps.
And I just realized that they would give me different kinds of leadership roles.
Imagine that in 6 years, I was the team leader of pom-pom girls, basketball team, dancer team, volunteers team. Each year, I was responsible of one team. You know, it was like just, what is it? But I was doing this very, like they were demanding it. It was a new experience for me, and I was discovering myself. I want to speak it in English because I mean I have to express it like I'm living it. But now I will go back in French. Oui, donc j'ai vécu ça profondément et ça a bouleversé qui j'étais.
I lived it, I felt it at a very deep level, and it completely changed the person that I was.
J'ai fait ma première publication littéraire à mes 14 ans.
When I was 14 years old, I had my first published article.
J'ai créé mes premières équipes à mes 16 ans.
And when I was 16, I created my first teams. I was leader of my first teams.
Donc, cette école, cet internat a créé un système pour que chaque enfant exprime ses talents et développe une capacité clé.
And so this boarding school specifically was built in a way to enable each child to develop the abilities that they had, but also specific talents that they had.
Mais ce n'était qu'un seul internat.
But that was only one boarding school,
qui coûtait très cher en
which
plus.
was very expensive actually.
Donc, à mon retour à Kinshasa,
So when I came back to Kinshasa,
je me suis rendu compte que même les écoles, la plupart des écoles, 70% des écoles n'avaient pas accès à ces activités.
I realized that 70% of the schools didn't have access to some of these activities that we had at boarding school.
Je suis aînée de 6 jeunes.
I'm a firstborn in my family, and I have 6 younger siblings.
Et ils étaient tous adolescents.
And they were all teenagers.
Et ils n'avaient pas accès à ces ateliers.
And they didn't have any of these workshops or activities.
Ils étaient tout le temps sur les téléphones.
They were always on their phones.
Tout le temps en dépression.
Always in depression.
Alors, nous avons monté une équipe pour mener une étude et découvrir si c'était le cas de tous les adolescents.
And so we did a survey to try and understand if this was only what was happening with my siblings or if this was common to different teens or all teens within the city.
Et je crois vraiment que c'est le cas de beaucoup de jeunes à travers le monde aujourd'hui.
And I think that's the case for a lot of teenagers throughout the world, actually.
Le monde va très rapidement, il y a beaucoup de changements.
And the world is going at a fast-growing pace. There's so many things changing.
S'il n'y a pas de programme pour rappeler que l'être humain est la priorité,
and if there are programs that are not constantly reminding that the human being is the priority,
et qu'il faudrait, avant de penser technologie, ce que je dois faire, penser mon développement personnel,
and that before we think of technological advances, we must think of personal development,
Et puis après, pensez comment utiliser ces technologies pour le développement de la
And
communauté.
now think about how to use these technological advances to advance societal and development issues.
On aura beaucoup de problèmes avec la génération qui va venir.
We will have a lot of problems with the upcoming generation.
Nous avons découvert des cas suicidaires à 15 ans.
We had so many cases of suicidal teenagers at 15,
Ou encore des personnes qui se lynchaient, qui se coupaient la peau.
or those who were cutting themselves
Parce qu'elles étaient en dépression et elles n'étaient pas heureuses.
because they were in depression and they were not happy.
Donc, il y avait un problème de wellness, de bien-être.
Yeah, so there was a wellness problem.
Et donc, après cette étude, nous avons créé Minzoto Club.
After the survey, we created Minzoto Club.
You know, so many things I can relate to, and I'm so glad to hear this story. I was also in a boarding school, and we called it vocationals, different activities we had, which are apart from the academic curricular. So,
Okay.
right from welding to mechanics to creating some arts and crafts to fixing things, furniture, and many, many, many things. I enjoyed those activities more than the academic ones, and of course, the sports. So, as you said very right, I mean, doing these activities or keeping students engaged in what they love doing pulls them away from depression, or they have a meaning, a purpose in life. That is what I've been reading these days. There's this amazing book called Grit that I would highly recommend you to read. The author Angela Duckworth, her purpose in life is to help students find their purpose through using psychology.
Okay.
So she has interviewed many people and found out many things or questions or processes that they can do with the students for them to improve their learning experience and what they do. So for fun example I wanted to just give today, I read, so if you ask a student, what do you want to do for the world, and then ask them how what you're studying can help that. What do you want to do in life, and how can that help? How can what you are studying right now can help? So the students gave great example of I wanted to go and do marine biology because I want to save fish and I like fish and all that. There were different examples. One of them said that for helping others I need to be educated first, that's why I need to learn in school properly. So things
Okay.
like that. It's a very nice book, I would highly recommend. And
Yes. Mhm.
that brings me to, yeah, go ahead, you're saying something.
Yes, I mean, it's more easy to transfer what you really ce que tu as vraiment vécu.
It's easier
Mm.
to give whatever you've lived other than whatever is just taught to you. If you have an experience attached to what you're trying to give, then it's more powerful.
Et on comprend la différence quand on n'a pas vécu et quand on a vécu.
And we can see the difference with those who have experienced something and those who have not, who have just learned theory.
Et je pense que c'est important aussi de partager ce genre d'expérience.
And it's so important to share these kind of experiences.
Je connais quand même beaucoup d'éducateurs aussi en Inde. Je sais que l'Inde a beaucoup d'innovation en éducation.
And I know a lot of educators in India. I know that India has a lot of different innovations in terms of education.
Notamment sur Andret. Notamment présent sur l'application Andret.
Like that are actually present on the app called Android.
Le site web Andret.
Ouais. Yeah, it's a website called Android.
Et je pense aussi qu'il y a quand même des similarités aussi sur ce que nous vivons un peu à travers le monde.
And I think there are similar things with regards to what we're living in different places across the world.
Et qu'en dehors des challenges liés au bien-être,
and apart from the challenges linked to wellness,
il faudrait déjà relever les défis liés à la place de l'homme dans un monde très technologique.
It's important to realize the issues that a man has within, or women, a person has within a highly technological world.
Et déjà préparer les jeunes à trouver leur place dans ce monde
and to prepare young people to have a place within the technologically inclined world.
Yeah. Et ça, c'est aussi une tâche que nous avons prise.
And that's also something we try to teach them.
Yes.
Amazing. You spoke about mental health and depression and preventing suicides. I want to get an example of you of what you have done on a personal level to bring people out of depression. Like if you could share a story.
Il voudrait savoir quels sont les efforts fournis pour tirer les gens de la dépression, par exemple, et des pensées suicidaires. Qu'est-ce qui a été fait personnellement? Quels sont les efforts que tu as fait personnellement pour tirer les gens de la dépression?
Déjà, moi, ce que j'ai fait personnellement, déjà, en dehors de Minzoto Club et de
What
toutes
I
les
do personally
activités que j'ai faites,
outside of Minzoto Club and the other activities that I do,
j'ai créé moi-même un cabinet d'accompagnement individuel.
I have a center that accompanies people personally.
Donc, en ce moment, d'ailleurs, nous sommes en train et nous avons reçu des certifications pour accompagner les gens.
We have been certified to help people go through things.
Et vraiment, nous accompagnons sur parfois 1 mois, 3 mois des personnes de manière individuelle pour les identifier premièrement leurs problèmes.
And sometimes over a period of 1 to 3 months, we help people go through a process to first identify what kind of challenges they have.
Et ensuite, nous créons des programmes.
And then we create programs,
individualisés,
individual programs,
qui les permettent de quitter leurs difficultés vers des solutions claires.
That are tailor-made to help them go from the challenges they're encountering to solutions that are very clear.
Mais nous avons une chose que nous tenons à faire, c'est qu'au-delà de la demande de la personne, nous nous assurons aussi que la personne ait un accompagnement pour être libre financièrement.
But one of the things we also do is to ensure that outside of everything that we're doing, people go outside of these systems financially free.
Parce que c'est le problème, c'est la source beaucoup de problèmes. Il y a beaucoup de problèmes de pauvreté, il y a beaucoup de problèmes de manque d'emploi.
Because it's one of the main challenges within our community.
Et c'est souvent ça qui crée des dépressions. Je n'ai pas assez d'argent pour payer mes études.
People don't have enough money to pay for their school fees.
Ma mère est malade, je n'ai pas d'argent pour prendre soin d'elle.
My mom is sick and I don't have enough money to bring her to the hospital.
Et ça crée des dépressions.
And these are some of the things that create depression.
Je peux assurer que sur 100% des cas que nous recevons, 60% des cas a un problème financier.
And out of 100% of the people and cases that we get, 60% of the challenges they are going through are linked to financial challenges.
Ce qui fait que vraiment, même lorsque nous identifions ces problèmes de dépression, nous accompagnons individuellement. Mais nous ne faisons pas que ça. Nous avons 3 activités grand public annuellement.
And so after we identify the kind of challenges people are going through, there are 3 activities that we do yearly.
Qui sont vraiment basées sur le développement personnel. La première activité s'appelle Guérir du passé, investir pour l'avenir.
Which is personal development. The first activity is called Healing from the Past.
Investir pour l'avenir.
And investing into the future.
Et aussi planifier pour avant ses 30 ans.
There's a second one called Planning before you're 30 years old.
Et la dernière activité qui est vraiment centrée pour les femmes qui débutent chaque nouvelle année, nouvel mois.
And the third one, which is very geared towards women specifically, is called, and it's towards the end of the year, beginning of the year, it's called New Year, New Me.
C'est des ateliers publics accessibles sans paiement.
These are workshops that are free, that are accessible without pay.
Et qui sont vraiment durant lesquels tout le monde participe, parents, enfants, jeunes, c'est ouvert.
And it's open to all kinds of ages, all ages combined.
Et comme on le sait, en RDC, les églises sont le Congo est à 80% chrétien.
And as we know within the DRC, we have about 80% of the population that's Christian.
Alors, nous donnons beaucoup d'ateliers aussi sans frais dans les églises.
So there are a lot of workshops we do within churches too.
Donc, c'est surtout ça que nous faisons.
That's mostly what we do.
I like that how you found out that finance and money is the core problem in your society, and you made a solution, right, which aims at it by creating courses on entrepreneurship and people not expecting to get jobs but creating jobs themselves. They themselves becoming so good that they are creating money and creating jobs. So I really appreciate that. Hats off to that.
Thank you,
On a
Tanmay.
personal level,
Mhm.
what on a personal level, what
Mhm.
is the biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome?
Okay. The biggest challenge we face is the ecosystem. You know,
Moi, personnellement.
moi,
Mhm.
ok. Ah, merci. Moi, déjà, le plus grand challenge que j'ai, c'est de trouver les financements.
The biggest challenge I have is to have finances.
Heureusement, nous sommes une entreprise.
Funding.
Heureusement, nous sommes une entreprise.
Luckily, we are an enterprise.
Mais pendant 5 ans, j'ai été activiste dans
But for
ONG.
5 years, I was just an ONG,
Et,
NGO,
et c'était pas évident, c'est pour ça que nous avons changé de modèle.
and that was very hard, and that's why we changed our business model from an NGO to an enterprise.
Parce que accompagner un nombre important de personnes demande un nombre important de ressources.
Because taking care of a lot of people requires a lot of resources.
Mais il y a aussi autre chose, c'est la mentalité sur le terrain.
And something else that we have a challenge with is encountering the mindset on the field.
Je suis une femme et le défi que je rencontre beaucoup, c'est les hommes.
I am a woman, so the biggest challenge I face are men.
C'est très difficile dans une mentalité très traditionnelle de comprendre le leadership féminin.
It's very hard in a traditional setting to understand feminine or women leadership.
Il faudrait beaucoup s'imposer.
You have to pose yourself.
Il faudrait parfois venir comme une mère.
And you have to come sometimes as a mother.
Parce que la culture est très familiale.
Because the culture is very family oriented.
Un autre défi que j'ai rencontré,
another challenge that I have faced,
c'est que moi-même, il fallait que je maîtrise les nouveaux outils technologiques pour pouvoir mettre en place ce que je voulais créer.
is that I needed to understand the technological aspects of my job and tools so that I would be able to use them to put in place whatever I was trying to create.
Et enfin, le dernier défi que j'ai vraiment rencontré,
And lastly, the last challenge I really encountered,
c'est de connecter le travail que je fais avec les standards au niveau international et ensuite de connecter l'international à mon travail local.
to link the job that I was doing here to international standards and to have international standards be adapted back into our system.
Ça a l'air d'être général, mais en
That sounds
pratique,
general, but practically speaking,
c'est pas facile.
it's not easy.
Mais on en arrive, ça va. Je m'adapte moi personnellement.
But we're getting there. I'm adapting specifically myself.
En créant un réseau local et international qui permette de relever ces défis.
And I'm creating a local and international network that is helping me to
relever ces défis.
To be able to accomplish these challenges, to face these challenges. Yeah.
Donc en général, moi personnellement, c'est ça. Mais il y a aussi un aspect important, je pense, Tanmay.
And I think there's another very important aspect.
La culture.
The culture.
La culture congolaise, elle a beaucoup de sous-branchements et ce serait dommage.
Congolese culture has a lot of different outsources within itself. It's branched out into different subcultures.
Ce serait dommage de ne pas l'exprimer, de ne pas la partager.
And it would be very sad to not share it.
Alors, mais c'est parfois bizarre.
But sometimes it's very strange.
Tu sais, Tanmay, au Congo, je devrais t'appeler Papa Tanmay.
You know, in Congo, I should be able to. I should have to call you Father Tanmay.
Parce que on appelle tout homme d'un certain âge papa.
Because any man from a certain age is simply called father.
Et les femmes d'un certain âge, on les appelle maman.
And women from a certain age are just called mother.
Et là, je parle de 30 ans, je parle de 25 ans,
And I'm
c'est vraiment
talking
pas 50.
25, 30 years old, not 50, but very young. From 25 years old, you'd be a mother or father.
Ça peut paraître étrange,
And it would sound a little strange,
mais ça apporte un changement très intéressant dans la vie professionnelle.
but it actually brings a significant change in professional setting.
C'est comme ça que les Congolais ont une grande loyauté, même en milieu professionnel.
And that's why Congolese people are very loyal, even in work settings.
Parce que la mentalité culturelle nous dit que c'est une famille.
Because the cultural mentality mindset is telling us that this is a family.
Il y a des défauts à ça,
There are challenges to that,
mais il y a des qualités aussi.
but there are also good things about that.
Alors le défi était de trouver l'équilibre.
So the challenge is to find the equilibrium.
Mais je pense avoir trouvé cela.
And I think I found the middle ground.
Et ça apporte une réelle valeur ajoutée à notre manière de travailler.
And that adds a value added to the way that we work.
J'espère que certains auront la chance de rejoindre mes équipes pour découvrir ça.
And I really hope some people will be able to join our team and discover what these aspects are.
Voilà.
That is very interesting. Calling mother and father, and how, yeah, when I think about it, it's very good to be calling that. First, I thought it is got to do with church, because you have father in the church, right? The preacher is called father. So I thought it was about that, but I think it comes from the Congoneese culture itself. It's not related to church. Am I right or wrong?
Il pensait que on appelait papa le pasteur seulement, et là il se rend compte que c'est lié à la culture en général.
Oui, c'est lié à la culture en
It's
général.
linked to the culture, generally speaking. So it's not just the pastor.
You know, Congolese, we are thinking like we are a big family. Every of us, you know, we are thinking just like if you are coming in Kinshasa, you can just tu peux habiter chez quelqu'un que tu connais pas.
You can live at somebody's house that you don't know.
Vous pouvez arriver dans une boutique, par exemple, ça c'est quelque chose de fréquent. Vous allez acheter quelque chose et si cette personne manque un article, elle vous demande à vous de garder sa boutique et d'aller chercher votre article ailleurs.
Oh, something that really happens is that you can go into a store and you're looking for something that's not there, and the shopkeeper tells you to wait for them, keep their store whilst they go and look for that item somewhere else, and you keep their store.
Et ils n'ont pas peur d'être volés.
And they're not afraid to be like stolen.
Et une autre chose, par exemple, c'est que une mère, si elle trouve une fille qui a l'âge de sa fille, et qu'elle trouve que cette jeune fille ou cette petite fille fait quelque chose qu'elle reprocherait à sa fille, même en route, elle lui reproche.
And something else that happens is that on the road, if a mother sees a young girl who would be the age of her daughter, and she feels like whatever this young girl is doing is not acceptable, that she would not accept for her own daughter, she feels entitled and she has the right to reprimand her right there on the street.
Et c'est commun, c'est fréquent.
And that's very common.
C'est une culture réelle. On pense vraiment famille.
That's a collectivistic culture, and we really think family.
Je pense que c'est parce qu'en grande majorité, les Congolais sont bantous.
And I think it's because, generally speaking, Congolese people are Bantu.
Il y a les pygmées, il y a les nilotiques, mais surtout des bantous.
There are people from who are Nilotic and Pygmies, but mostly they are Bantu.
Les bantous, c'est aussi un peuple bien précis, mais qui s'est vraiment répandu.
And that's a specific people that has spread out over the years.
Et dans cette culture bantou, c'est une très grande famille. On a des clans, on a des tribus, mais on reste une famille.
And in this Bantu setting, it's a big clan. You know, you have specific tribes, but we're a big family.
Et non, ça n'a rien à voir avec les pasteurs. C'est vraiment une Bantu mentalité.
It's just a Bantu mentality.
Et on rencontre ça dans le monde professionnel. C'est pour ça que if you want to invest in DRC, you have to consider the culture mentality. It's really important. You can't do a good business in DRC without considering our mentality, because we are really a special people. Yeah, you know, and ce n'est pas seulement sur l'aspect familial.
And that's
Quand-
not only on, when it relates to family aspects.
Il y a beaucoup des aspects négatifs aussi, mais
There
dont
are
je n'aimerais
also
pas parler.
negative aspects that I would not like to go into.
Si quelqu'un veut investir, il peut me contacter,
If
je lui
somebody
donnerai.
wants to invest, they can reach out to me and I'll tell them a little bit more about that.
Mais en attendant, ça n'a rien à voir avec les églises.
But in the meantime, it has nothing to do with churches.
On était animistes d'ailleurs. On a pendant longtemps été animistes avant de devenir chrétiens.
For a very long time, we were animists before we became Christians.
Et donc, cette mentalité est présente. Au contraire, cette mentalité est allée dans les églises.
And actually, it's this specific mentality that went within the churches and not the other way around.
What was the mentality you said? From what did you become Christians? I didn't get the word.
On était quoi avant d'être chrétien?
Ah, animistes.
Animist, hold on, let me check.
Nous respectons les ancêtres et parfois certaines tribus étaient protégées par des animaux.
So animism, right, is the belief that objects, places, and creatures all possess a distinct spiritual essence.
Et aussi, nos ancêtres ont une grande place.
So ancestors, were very important.
Nous croyons qu'ils nous écoutaient, qu'ils nous accompagnaient.
And we believe that, they would listen to us, they could listen to us, and they would, help us in our different walks of life.
Et effectivement, nous croyons aussi que des animaux, certaines tribus étaient associées à des animaux, vraiment tous ces aspects-là.
And so there were also aspects that would say that different tribes are linked to different kind of animals or totems.
Donc, ce sont des aspects qui ont vraiment traîné pendant longtemps et jusqu'à présent, dans certains villages, ces aspects sont présents.
So these are aspects that were there for a very long time, and in certain villages, it's still the case.
Mais ce qui s'est passé, c'est que effectivement, la grande partie du Congo est devenue chrétienne.
But the majority of the Congo, the Congolese people, became Christian.
Donc,
it is very similar to.
Yes, we are really the same.
It is very. Yeah, it's very similar to the beliefs in India, and we also have a lot of different groups, following different traditions and rituals, and a lot of diversity and beliefs. But we believe that there is life, there is spirit in everything, there is God in every animal. That's what we also believe. It's very interesting to know about the culture, and this is the reason for the podcast. I wanted to talk to people from all around the world, in every city, every country, because somebody from outside, they don't really know what happens in, like, whatever we know, it's from the news or from the media, whatever the dominant topic is. So it's not really people connecting to people like that. So glad with this we are getting to know insights about that. I never would have thought that people over there are so warm and so welcoming that you can stay in their house, or the grocer, the person at the grocery, and all the stories you said. In spite, what my impression was that there are a lot of wars happening amongst each other. So it's a very violent country. So what are your thoughts on that? Because that's what comes in the news, or that's what is heard about, that there is a constant war going on between different tribes, or different things. So there's usually political unrest. How has that impacted lives there?
Alors, il dit que c'est intéressant parce que ce podcast spécifiquement, il le fait pour comprendre différentes cultures autour du monde, et il essaye de parler avec différentes personnes dans le monde. Et c'est très intéressant parce qu'il ne pouvait jamais s'imaginer qu'au Congo, par exemple, avec les histoires que tu as données, on peut aller chez un inconnu et y habiter, ou encore dans le magasin, on te laisse le shop et puis on part. Parce que dans les médias, ce qui est véhiculé, c'est beaucoup plus les aspects politiques, un peu la guerre entre les tribus, mais aussi vraiment la guerre. Donc il y a cet aspect qui est très politiquement chargé, où il y a beaucoup de guerres Qu'est-ce que tu dis par rapport à ça?
Il ne faut pas nier que la politique a sa place, a une grande place en RDC.
So it's very true that politics is a huge part of what happens within the DRC,
et qu'il y a des groupes armés,
and there are armed groups, indeed,
mais la RDC est un très grand pays
but the DRC is a very big country
avec à peu près 100 millions d'habitants.
with about 100 million
Rien à voir avec l'Inde,
people. Nothing to do with India, which is bigger,
c'est vrai, mais seulement il y a plusieurs régions.
but there are many regions.
Et la guerre se trouve surtout à l'est du pays.
And war is specifically concentrated on the eastern side of Congo,
Où il y a beaucoup de ressources minières.
where there are a lot of mineral resources.
C'est vrai, il y a aussi des rébellions dans certaines régions,
And yes, there are small rebellions in different regions,
mais la grande partie de la République démocratique du Congo,
but the majority of the DRC
et il y a des activités qui mènent, il y a des gens qui vivent leur vie.
is pretty quiet in terms of unrest because people are still going about their lives normally.
Maintenant, cela n'exclut pas le fait que le pays est vraiment en arrière parce que la politique ne permet pas le développement. La politique actuelle ne permet pas le développement.
But it is not untrue that the current state of things, especially political situation, does not necessarily allow for the country's development.
Mais c'est le cas de plusieurs pays.
But that's the case for a lot of other countries too.
Donc, la RDC, comme tous les pays qui ont des défis, la RDC a des défis.
So just like every other country has challenges, the DRC has challenges.
Mais la RDC a aussi beaucoup d'activités intéressantes, des découvertes exceptionnelles.
But the DRC still has many interesting activities and life goes on.
Et beaucoup d'opportunités d'investissement
And there are quite a lot of opportunities to invest
parce qu'il y a quasiment tout à faire.
because there's essentially everything to do.
Je peux dire sans hésiter qu'il n'y a pas, par exemple, 10 industries textiles en RDC.
I can say for a fact that we don't have 10 textile industry companies.
Il n'y en a pas.
There
Pourtant,
aren't.
il y a 100 millions d'habitants habillés.
But there's 100 million people to clothe.
C'est une opportunité
That's an
existante.
opportunity that's existing.
C'est pour ça que les nombreux acteurs du secteur privé essayent de créer un écosystème pour pouvoir saisir ces opportunités.
That's why you see so many actors within our ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem, trying to create opportunities for all of these to happen.
Et c'est là même que notre politique devient intéressante.
And that's specifically where politics come into play.
En novembre 2022, une nouvelle loi a été votée en RDC, la Startup Act
In November
2022.
2022, there's a new act called the Startup Act that was voted in.
Cette loi a été votée en faveur des startups en RDC.
And this is specifically for startups.
Ça réduit les taxes, les impôts et tout ce
Reduce
qui empêchait
taxes and everything that was stopping
la création de plusieurs entreprises localement.
creating of local businesses.
Et nous sommes très fiers, et je suis très fière de le dire, je veux dire, la politique a encore créé ce mois de mars-ci une loi qui régulait enfin le secteur technologique en RDC.
And I'm very proud to say that this past March, there is now a law that regulates digital businesses
Exactly.
that didn't exist before.
C'est-à-dire qu'il y a des défis comme tous les pays,
So there are challenges like all of the
Africains.
countries, African countries,
corruption et tout ce qui va avec,
corruption and everything that goes with it.
mais il y a des acteurs qui apportent des changements.
But there are actors who are really changing things around.
Et dans les 10-20 années qui viennent,
And in the next 10, 20 years,
je suis convaincue que la RDC aura un positionnement de choix.
and I'm very convinced that in the next 10 to 20 years, the DRC will simply be positioned exceptionally.
Et bien sûr, j'espère l'Afrique en général.
And I believe Africa in general.
Do you want to run for Prime Minister or President? You want to go into politics?
Tu aimerais être Premier ministre ou aller dans la politique?
Je ne veux surtout pas qu'un seul politique entende ma réponse.
And I would specifically not want any political person to hear my answer.
Ça pourrait être avantageux tout comme désavantageux.
Because it will be advantageous or disadvantageous for me.
Mais Tanmay, on en reparlera après cette rencontre.
Tanmay, we'll talk about this after this meeting.
Mais c'est possible
No, you
que
are a
je
very
joue un
good
rôle.
leader. I believe.
Donc, je jouerai
No,
un
I'm
rôle.
saying just on
Yes.
the fact that you're a great leader and all the things you're understanding and how you're inviting investment in the company and the positive angle you're giving, I really like that. And if I was a citizen of Congo, I would have voted for you.
You are welcome, and everyone here is welcome.
As we're talking about violence, I wanted to highlight the fun fact that I discovered is DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, is the most resource-rich country on the planet, with abundance of gold, titanium, tungsten, tin, and all other minerals that we use in electronics, such as cell phones and laptops. And did you know that the uranium used for the nuclear bombs which were dropped in Japan by US in World War II, the uranium used for that was they had got from Congo, the mines of Congo. So that's another fun fact. So I guess because of these resources, because of the greed of the resources, there are these violence and activities that are happening there. But glad you pointed out the other potentials and good market that Congo is happening. So very nice to hear that. Why don't you think if minerals, you already have the raw materials in your country, why don't you even make the cell phones? If you have the materials required for cell phones, why don't you make a cell phone?
On crée pas des téléphones
Oui,
alors qu'on
ici,
a
on a
ça.
les ressources premières.
I can say that we are creating it. Oof, I'm really happy to say that. We have Congolese phone mark,
From brands. We have Congolese brands, phone
brands.
brands. Yeah.
Okay. Tablets.
Tablets,
Beaucoup d'appareils technologiques comme
like iPad. I mean, not iPads.
téléphone et tablets.
Phones and
iPad, I mean.
yeah, like tablets.
Tablets. But we don't have industry.
But we don't have industries.
Et c'est pour ça que actuellement ceux qui sont déjà dans les adultes ont déjà des jobs avocats, infirmiers et tout ça.
The adult population already has different kind of jobs, like they're lawyers, they're doctors, and so forth,
ou agriculteurs
or agricultors.
Et la mentalité, effectivement, de cette éducation de pouvoir créer l'ingénierie et tout ça, il y en a.
And the mentality to create new things is there.
Mais l'écosystème n'était pas encore prêt.
But the ecosystem within which we were was not ready yet to create room for these innovations.
Les lois n'étaient pas encore votées.
The laws were not voted in yet.
La création d'entreprises était très difficile.
Creating of businesses was very hard.
Par exemple, nos voisins au Rwanda, ça prend 2 heures et en RDC, ça prend 1 année.
Like our neighbors in Rwanda, it takes 2 hours to create a business, and here sometimes 1 year for some people.
Donc il y a à peine 3 ans que maintenant ça prend 2 jours.
But now for the past 3 years, it takes 2 days.
Mais vous voyez, l'écosystème est jeune.
So this is a very young ecosystem in which we are in terms of entrepreneurship.
Alors, il y a maintenant des vraies innovations qui sont créées.
So now there are very real innovations that are created.
C'est pour ça qu'on voit de plus en plus la RDC à Vivatech, par exemple.
And that's why we're seeing more and more of Congolese citizens at events like Vivatech.
Mais ça va step by step,
Yeah, so we're going step by step.
Donc, je pense que d'ici les 10 prochaines années, vraiment, nous avons déjà des machines qui sont créées. En RDC, nous avons créé des machines respiratoires qui n'ont pas besoin nécessairement d'être connectées à l'énergie.
Yeah, so
pendant la COVID.
I think within the next 10 years, there will really be substantial changes because within the COVID time, we had breathing machines that didn't need to be connected to electricity or power.
On a créé des énergies différentes.
We created different sources of energies for it to work.
Et avec les ressources du Congo, c'est très possible.
And with resources, Congolese resources, that's very possible.
Donc, il y a beaucoup d'innovations.
So there's a lot of innovation.
Mais seulement, on les découvre pas à pas.
But they're only being discovered step by step.
Et l'écosystème se formalise à peine.
And it's only now that the ecosystem in which we are is working towards letting that happen.
Donc, il faudrait un peu de patience pour voir des laptops congolais.
So a little bit more patience until you see Congolese computers.
Mais vous pouvez déjà voir les ingénieurs qui y travaillent.
But you can already see the engineers working on them.
Voilà. Et je peux vous connecter à eux.
And yeah, I can definitely help you reach out to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With the leadership as yours and students from your institute, I'm sure all these things are possible in a very near future. I wanted to talk about culture next. You mentioned pygmy people and different tribes in the regions. What differentiates these tribes? And pygmy people, I'm very curious to know because we had ISRO scientists with us who mentioned about pygmy people at their world's shortest people. You can find that episode on the top, guys. So, can you tell about how these different types are differentiated? Is this because of the different geographical locations, or how do you differentiate between tribes?
Il faudrait comprendre comment les tribus sont définies. Est-ce que c'est lié à l'endroit géographique, la situation géographique par laquelle il se passe? Quel est le processus par lequel les gens sont distribués en différentes tribus? Par exemple, tu as fait mention des pygmées, parce qu'il y a une émission qu'ils ont fait sur les pygmées et ils apprenaient c'était les personnes les plus courtes au monde.
Exactement. Les pygmées sont les personnes courtes au monde.
Yes, pygmies are the shortest people on Earth.
Et effectivement, les pygmées vivent majoritairement au centre du pays.
And yes, pygmies are essentially concentrated in the middle part of the DRC, so central.
C'est vrai, les tribus et les peuples sont surtout régionaux en termes de géographie.
Tribes are essentially distributed in terms of geography.
C'est pour ça même que la RDC a été l'un des pays qui a eu pour principal défi le tribalisme.
In terms of what? I couldn't hear your last word. Can you repeat in terms of what?
In terms of geography, so regions, in different regions,
Okay.
that's how you get different tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Et c'est pour ça que la RDC est l'un des pays qui a eu le défi du tribalisme.
And that's why the DRC is one of the countries that really struggled with tribalism.
C'est vraiment lié aux régions et même les noms.
It's very linked to the regions, but also to the names that people have.
En fonction du nom, on reconnaît votre tribu, mais aussi on reconnaît la zone géographique dont vous venez.
So, according to the name that you have, you're able to tell which region of the country you're from and which tribe you're from.
Donc c'est vraiment connecté.
So that's
Maintenant,
very much
Can you give
interlinked.
maintenant, Kinshasa, c'est la ville métropolitaine qui réunit tout le monde.
But now Kinshasa is the metropolitan city that has everybody combined.
Et c'est peut-être la ville où il y a plein de mélanges.
And that's probably where you have a lot of different mixtures of different tribes.
Mais dans certaines régions,
But in certain regions,
c'est vraiment les mêmes populations.
it's essentially the same kind of populations and groupings, tribes.
Voilà. J'espère que j'ai répondu à la question.
Can you give an example?
Mhm.
Yes. Can you give example of how the names are different? Like,
For example, my name is Kat Kazad. Oui, okay. And I am from l'Ouest. Je m'appelle Kat Kazad et je suis de l'Ouest-Est de la RDC.
Okay, so my name is Kat Kazad, so that's her surname and middle name, Kat Kazad, and she's from the east-western side of the Congo.
Et toutes les personnes de ma tribu n'ont pas de voyelle à la fin de leur nom.
And everybody from that specific tribe don't have vowels at the end of their names.
Kaj,
So you get names like Kaj,
Yav,
Yav,
Nawej.
Nawej. It only ends with consonants.
Et on reconnaît ma tribu par ça.
And that's how you recognize the tribe that she's from.
Maintenant, il y a d'autres noms qui ont plutôt des voyelles et la même consonance.
There are certain tribes that have the same vowels, but sounds the same in how it's said.
Mutombo,
So you would get like Mutombo,
Naweji.
Naweji. So it would be like, so in her tribe it would be Mutomb, Nawej, but in other tribes then it would be Mutombo, Naweji. So it's the same name, like the roots, but then theirs ends without consonants, with consonants, and the other ones ends with vowels.
Yes.
What are the names of pygmy people?
Really, I don't know because I don't meet. Je n'ai pas rencontré beaucoup de pygmées.
I've never met a lot of pygmies, so I have no idea what the names that they have sound like.
Nous avons 450 tribus en
Because we have
RDC.
450 tribes in DRC.
Encore une fois, ça ne doit pas être autant qu'en Inde.
And I don't know if you have as many in India.
Mais ce qui est sûr, c'est qu'on ne se rencontre pas nécessairement tous.
But the truth is we don't always meet.
Et il y a des groupes qui sont généraux.
And there are groups that are very spread out and general.
Qu'on appelle parfois Baluba.
And you can call them, generally speaking, Baluba.
Mais qui, eux, ont encore des sous-branches.
And within those groups, you have sub-branches.
Donc, je n'ai pas eu l'opportunité de fréquenter beaucoup de pygmées.
I haven't had the opportunity to live or encounter a lot of pygmy people.
Mais il y a beaucoup d'autres tribus quand même qu'on rencontre.
But there are a lot of other tribes that we meet.
Do you have a caste system or segregation between your society because of the tribes they come from? A higher ranking, a lower ranking, and a prejudice because of the tribe or the ethnicity you're coming from. Does that exist in your society?
J'ai compris. Non, spécifiquement, non.
Not specifically, no.
Maintenant, le
However,
tribalisme a créé une forme de séparation,
has created a form of separation,
de forme de caste.
A form of caste system.
Par exemple,
For example,
dans certaines régions,
in certain regions,
si vous êtes ce qu'on appelle Muluba,
if you are like from a tribe, from a group called Muluba,
vous êtes considéré comme inférieur.
You would be considered inferior.
Dans d'autres aussi,
in other regions,
vous êtes carrément, on est méfiant envers vous.
People would be skeptical about you.
Ce n'est pas vraiment un système de caste qui a été créé.
So it's not really a caste system.
C'est surtout un système de, de caractéristiques attribuées à chaque tribu.
It's more of like characteristics attached to different tribes.
Les Bakongo ont dit que ils ne partagent pas.
So for example, let's say people from the group called Bakongo, they have a hard time sharing.
Mais ils sont les meilleurs gestionnaires de caisses.
But they are the best. They are the best with money handling.
Donc si vous créez une entreprise,
so you have an enterprise,
engagez un Mukongo aux finances.
You would need a Mukongo person to do your finances.
Ça, c'est une vision. C'est surtout comme ça, en fait, que ça marche.
So they're considered stingy. However, they're very good with money.
Donc, il n'y a pas vraiment un système de caste, mais il y a surtout des caractéristiques qu'on a attribuées à des tribus.
It's not really a caste system. It's more of characteristics linked to different, tribes.
On dirait que moi, qui suis ce qu'on appelle Swahili.
So they would say, me, which I'm from the Swahili group.
On dit que les femmes Swahili sont très indépendantes.
So they say Swahili women are very independent.
Si vous êtes un homme qui veut épouser une femme, on recommande d'épouser surtout une femme Muluba.
If you are a man and you want to marry a woman, they would suggest that you go marry a Muluba woman.
Parce qu'elles sont moins...
Because they're a little less independent.
Exact. Donc, c'est vraiment surtout des caractéristiques
characteristics
dans lesquelles les gens croient.
And these are, things that people really believe in.
Et donc, c'est un aspect à considérer. Et c'est pour ça que en termes de représentation, même en politique,
and even in terms of political representation,
on tient compte des tribus.
they take into account different tribes.
Un ministère, par exemple, est équilibré
A certain ministry would be considered fair
si il y a plusieurs tribus
if they
représentées.
have a lot of tribes represented within the
Sinon,
ministry.
les gens vont
Otherwise,
vraiment penser qu'il y a eu un problème.
otherwise people will believe that there was a problem.
Et si vous donnez à, supposons, un Swahili de gérer la caisse,
And if you let a Swahili person, let's say, deal with the finances,
donc moi,
like her,
on dira que je vais liquider l'argent.
they will tell you that she's going to steal the money.
But it's not true. C'est juste des
So
considérations qui
these are just
changent,
considerations that
mais
have
qui
changed,
sont crues par de nombreuses
but that
personnes.
are believed by a lot of people.
C'est surtout ça les systèmes qui sont,
So
mais ça
that's
change
why-
avec
Very interesting.
l'éducation
And it changes
et le
with
changement de
education
mentalité.
and mindset changes.
How many languages do you all speak?
Woo! Wow! As more as we have tribes, you know.
Yeah.
On a beaucoup de langues. On
We
a
have a lot of languages.
450. 450 à
About
peu près.
450 plus languages.
Mais seulement, il y a 4 langues nationales
There are 4 national languages,
et nous avons une langue officielle.
and we have one official language.
Dans les 4 langues nationales sont le Swahili,
In the 4 national languages, we have Swahili,
le Lingala,
Lingala,
le Kikongo et le Kiluba.
Kikongo, and Kiluba.
Et le français, c'est la langue officielle.
And French is the official language.
Voilà. Donc, ce sont les 5 langues qui sont le plus parlées, mais en dehors de ça, nous avons 450 langues.
These are the 5 languages that are the most spoken, but outside of that, we have 450 plus languages, including dialects.
Amazing. You know how many languages India has?
No.
Comment?
Combien de langues ils ont en Inde?
Which?
How many?
How many?
700 languages and 2,000-3,000 dialects.
Wow.
Okay. You are another planet, you know.
Yeah.
Really, you are another planet, another
But
continent.
what you said is it's actually as big as Europe, no? India is as big as Europe, and different states have different languages. So it's interesting. About coming back to you, can you describe something like, if I want to say this is beautiful, how would I say that in your language?
Okay. In Lingala, you will say, Eza Kitoko. Eza Kitoko. Eza
Okay,
Kitoko.
Izakituku.
Yes. Well done.
Awesome. And how would you appreciate something in French?
In French, c'est beau. C'est magnifique.
C'est beau. Okay. Talking about France, I was reading that DRC was first occupied by Belgium, but how did the French influence come in?
En Belgique, on parle français.
Yeah, in Belgium, they speak French too.
C'est une langue qui est très parlée avec le wallon, si je ne me trompe
Yeah,
pas.
it's so Belgium has 2 official languages, one of which is French and the other one which is Netherlands.
Okay.
Flemish, yeah.
Flemish?
Yeah.
Yes. Et
Dutch.
alors, en RDC?
Yes, Dutch, yeah.
Exactement. Et en RDC, ils nous ont colonisés avec le français.
And in the DRC, we were colonized with just French.
Et ce qui fait que c'est devenu notre langue officielle.
Which is why that's our official language.
Talking about France, one more question I had. I've got to know that many of the countries in Africa don't have their own currency. Their currencies are linked with French banks, or it is not their. What is your relation with the French banking system? Do you have a currency which is pegged on the French system, or you have a different monetary system?
Il dit, il a appris que beaucoup de pays africains ont des monnaies qui ne sont pas les leurs, qui sont toujours reliées à la banque européenne. Alors, quel est notre positionnement? Est-ce que nous avons notre propre monnaie? Et puis, est-ce qu'on a une monnaie française?
Monnaie en anglais.
Currency.
Okay. We are really honored and proud to announce that DRC we have our own currency. C'est ça? Yes. So note, we are not, we have our main currency called franc congolais. So, on imprime aussi nous-mêmes notre argent.
And we print our own money by ourselves.
Donc, nous avons notre propre banque centrale.
So we have our own central bank.
Nous sommes l'un des rares pays africains, effectivement, qui ait ça.
Yes, indeed. We are some of the only African countries to do that.
Il y en a certains, mais dont nous faisons partie.
But we're part of that.
Effectivement, il y a d'autres pays qui sont plutôt liés à la banque française.
And there are, yes, other countries that are linked to the French banking system.
Mais dans l'histoire du Congo,
but in Congolese history,
il y a eu un moment où, suite à la présence du célèbre président Mobutu,
because of during the reign of Mobutu president,
qui est l'un des plus célèbres présidents du pays,
which is one of the most popular Congolese presidents,
qui a été là pendant 30 ans,
who was there for 30 years.
Le Congo a décidé de faire un retour aux sources africaines.
The Congo decided to go back to its origins.
Et ce qui a fait qu'on a gardé les noms congolais.
That's why we kept Congolese names.
Et l'une des conséquences, effectivement, c'est que monétairement, nous avons notre propre monnaie.
And one of these consequences is that we have our own currency.
Amazing. Talking about culture, I got to know that you have a very high fertility rate, like 5.7, and you also mentioned that you have 5 or 6 siblings, you're eldest of 6 siblings. So why do you think people in Congo have so many children?
Il a appris qu'il y avait un gros taux de fertilité de 5.7. Et toi aussi, en parlant, tu as dit que tu avais 6 petits frères. Alors, pourquoi penses-tu que les Congolais ont autant d'enfants?
Alors, il faudrait comprendre ça encore dans un peu la géographie aussi du pays.
That is understood specifically with the Congo's geography.
En général, la RDC est surtout un pays arabe agriculture.
Generally speaking, Congo is a farmer country.
On fait beaucoup d'agriculture.
So we do a lot of farming.
Et nos ancêtres l'ont beaucoup fait.
And our ancestors did that a lot.
Et avoir beaucoup d'enfants était synonyme de pouvoir facilement entretenir les terres.
And having a lot of children meant you had a lot of laborers for your fields.
Et cette époque ne remonte pas à très longtemps.
And whatever I'm talking about right now is not so far back.
Ma grand-mère a vécu cette époque.
My grandmother lived that.
Et donc ça change à peine.
So it's just changing.
Et ce qui fait que effectivement avec les générations,
which is why with the upcoming generations,
il y a de moins en moins de personnes qui ont 6-7 enfants.
There is less and less, people or families with 6 or 7 children.
Dans les villes métropolitaines.
In metropolitan cities specifically.
Mais à l'intérieur du pays,
but within the countryside,
c'est encore un peu arriéré.
That's still the case.
Yes.
With many children.
Donc les gens continuent à avoir plusieurs enfants.
People are still
in the
having
family structure, I understand it's because of farming and that you have more hands. In the family structure, is it a matriarchal family or patriarchy? Is the mother the leader of the house or the father?
Ça dépend des tribus.
It depends on the tribes.
Il y a des tribus où c'est matriarcal et des tribus où c'est patriarcal.
Some tribes are matriarchal, some are patriarchal.
Et même certaines tribus, c'est vraiment basé sur les oncles.
And some tribes are linked to uncles, actually.
C'est vraiment les oncles qui prennent les décisions.
So it's the uncles who take decisions.
Pas les parents directs, mais les oncles.
Not the direct parents, but the uncles.
C'est vraiment, ça dépend des tribus.
So it really depends on the culture.
That is something different. How are the family led by uncles? Because if there are two uncles, which uncle would you follow? Like your father is there and your father's brother is there. Who decides which person to follow?
Ah, si c'est l'oncle de la mère ou l'oncle de la...
Oui, et comment, s'il y a deux oncles, si le père a deux frères, lequel des deux on suit?
Ok. Si le père a deux frères, on suit l'aîné.
So if the father has two brothers, then we listen to the eldest.
Et et même par
Okay.
exemple dans le cas des mariages,
And even in terms of marriage,
ce n'est pas le père qui recevra la dot, par exemple. Chez nous, c'est les hommes qui dotent.
in our culture, the men are the one who pay dowry.
Dans certaines, c'est les femmes, même en RDC.
In certain cultures, women also pay dowry, although that's a minimal number.
Mais seulement dans les familles où c'est les oncles qui prennent les décisions,
But in the families in which uncles are the ones deciding,
c'est l'oncle qui fait marier sa nièce.
it's the uncle who gets his niece married.
Donc, dans ce cas-là, c'est le plus âgé des oncles.
So that would be the eldest uncle who would do so.
Et même mais dans les familles patriarcales,
And in patriarchal families,
c'est les frères. Après les oncles et les pères, ce sont les frères qui prennent les décisions.
after fathers and uncles, then it's the brothers who take decisions.
Et même si c'est le frère cadet,
Even if it's the last born brother,
pour rester dans le cas de mariage,
still staying within the context of marriage,
le frère cadet va faire en sorte que sa grande sœur se marie.
the young brother will get his sister married.
C'est vraiment, c'est comme ça. Ça dépend des tribus.
So it really depends on tribes.
Mais quand c'est l'oncle, c'est le plus âgé des oncles.
But when
And
it's
how-
uncle, the eldest uncle.
How is it in the matriarchal family, and what kind of family are you coming from?
Ok. Chez les mères matriarcales, il y a une tribu comme ça, d'ailleurs, matriarcale. Les femmes gardent les enfants même après le divorce.
In matriarchal settings,
Par exemple.
mothers, so if there is a divorce, then the mother keeps the children. For example,
C'est l'un des cas où le matriarcat s'impose.
that's one of the cases in which you apply matriarchal rules.
Donc, c'est vraiment les femmes qui décident de qu'est-ce qu'on fait des enfants
Women decide what you do to the children,
et qui épouse qui. C'est les femmes qui ont vraiment le pouvoir.
who marries, and how they marry. Women have the power.
Et moi, je suis une famille patriarcale.
I'm from a patriarchal family.
C'est mon père qui prend les décisions,
My father's the one taking decisions,
mais il dépend encore beaucoup de mes oncles.
but he still depends a lot on my uncles.
Did you get married?
Not yet, but c'est pour bientôt.
But it's soon.
Can you tell us a wedding ritual or something which is very unique to your culture in weddings?
Donc, comment tu fais? Est-ce que tu peux expliquer les rituels de mariage
Ah, on a des rites.
et qui sont particuliers au Congo?
Ok. Every tribes have his rituals.
Yeah, every tribe has a specific ritual.
Et je vais donner l'exemple de mien.
But in our tribe,
Quand une fois que le mariage est confirmé,
when the wedding is confirmed,
le lendemain du mariage,
the day after the wedding,
je n'ai pas le droit de cuisiner pour mon mari
I cannot cook for my husband
sans que toutes les femmes de la famille de mon époux et de ma famille viennent.
until all the women from my husband's family and my family
Donc, ils viendront à une cérémonie chez moi
would come to my house for a specific ceremony,
et je vais faire le premier plat
and I'll do the first dish
pour tout le monde.
for everybody.
Et les tantes vont valider mon plat.
And the
Les dames,
aunties, all the women will say if my meal, my dishes are fine or not.
et si elles acceptent,
And if they accept them,
j'ai maintenant l'autorisation de cuisiner pour mon époux.
now I have the authorization to be cooking for my husband.
Et ça se fait jusqu'à ce jour.
And it still happens to this day.
Really?
What dish would you cook when you get married?
Qu'est-ce que tu préparerais pour eux quand tu te maries?
Je vais faire la chèvre déjà,
A goat,
parce que ça a un sens encore culturel.
because it has a cultural symbolism.
On offre une chèvre à la mère d'une jeune femme qui est mariée vierge, par exemple.
We offer a goat to a woman's mother who's a virgin. So if the woman is a virgin, then they offer a goat to her mother.
Alors, la chèvre est symbole de féminité et de maternité.
So a goat is linked to femininity and also maternity.
Alors, si moi, il faudrait que je fasse un plat, ça serait une chèvre.
Childbearing. So if I have to make a meal, it would be a goat.
And I will do.
Okay. What is your favorite food?
Do you know what we call fufu? Is a specific Congolese meal qui se mange avec tout.
That you can eat with anything.
Et is my favorite.
And that's my favorite.
I can't live without fufu, it's impossible.
I can't live without fufu.
Whenever, it's...
Can you describe that? What is there in fufu? What is it made for? How it looks like? What does it taste?
Ok, c'est du maïs.
It's maize.
Fait en pâte.
Pounded and done into a form of dough.
Et qui est servi à chaud.
So you cook it and you would eat it hot.
Et qui sert de plat de base et devant être servi avec accompagnement. Légumes et poissons ou viande.
That's like a starch and you'd need to go to eat it with vegetables and
poisson ou viande.
Fish or meat.
Et on mange ça avec soit on fait ça en jaune ou en blanc.
So you either get white fufu or yellow fufu.
Et chaque tribu aussi peut avoir sa manière de cuisiner le fufu.
And each tribe can have a specific way of cooking.
Mais c'est le plat principal dans le pays.
But it's the main meal within the whole country.
Et c'est un peu farineux dans la bouche.
It's a bit powdery within your mouth.
Ça n'a presque pas de goût parce que ce n'est pas salé.
Powdery.
Yes, it almost doesn't have a taste because it's neither salty.
Mais c'est ça le côté, ça rassasie vraiment et
But
ça
it
donne
gets you
beaucoup de
full
force.
and gives you a lot of energy.
Et c'est pour ça que beaucoup de Congolais mangent ça même avant d'aller travailler.
That's why a lot of Congolese eat it even before going to work.
C'est le plat basique des Congolais.
That's the basic Congolese meal.
Mais il y a un plat intéressant aussi que je te recommande.
So there's another interesting meal that I'd actually like to recommend to you, Tanmay.
Maboke. It's called maboke.
It's called...
One second. Before the next meal, I just want to show that I've shared with the audience the photos of fufu on the screen, which they can have a look. Like this is how it looks. It's like a dough, and you can eat it with everything. So yeah, cheers to that. Okay, next one.
Yes, maboke. You can just tu peux épeler maboke.
Yeah, I can. So maboke is spelled M-A-B-O-K-E.
Yes, alors le maboke, c'est un plat servi dans des feuilles.
And so maboke is served within leaves.
Donc ça a été cuit comme ça dans les
feuilles. It is cooked like that within leaves.
Et très épicé.
Very spicy.
Je crois que c'est notre côté indien.
And I think that's our Indian side.
Je crois qu'il n'a pas compris. C'est vraiment notre côté indien.
So that's the Indian side to our Congolese cuisine.
C'est très épicé et c'est
very
servi.
Spicy.
C'est servi avec chikwang, fufu.
And it's served with fufu, chikwang.
C'est un autre des plats qui est surtout servi à l'ouest du pays.
That's more served on the western side of our country.
Mais c'est une spécialité locale intéressante que je recommande à tout le monde qui visiterait.
But it's a local specialty, and I'd recommend it to anybody visiting Congo.
Amazing. I'm already feeling hungry now.
Il a faim déjà.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about festivals. Which is your favorite festival?
Quel est ton festival préféré au Congo? Parlons des festivals.
Le festival de la mode. You know, parce que nous sommes, je ne sais pas si certains ont déjà entendu parler des sapeurs.
I'm not sure if you have heard of fashionists called sapeurs specifically, the Congolese ones.
Sapology. Or
Um, they're called sapeurs, which means fashionists.
Tu peux aussi faire la recherche pour voir un peu c'est quoi.
And you can Google it and see what it is, because it's a very Congolese thing.
Les sapeurs, c'est des personnes qui s'habillent avec des vêtements très chers.
So sapeurs or fashionists are people who wear with very expensive clothing.
Et qui mettent des marques de très grande qualité.
They wear really high quality brands.
Qui sont toujours extrêmement bien habillés.
They're always very, very well dressed.
Et qui se promènent de manière extravagante avec leurs vêtements.
And they always walk around wearing extravagant clothes.
C'est un style particulier aux Congolais.
That's a particular style to the Congolese people.
On peut vraiment faire une recherche un peu comme on a vu ça sur l'écran avec la nourriture.
So we can do the same like we did with food. That I'd spell it, so it's S-A.
Parce que on ne peut pas comprendre sans avoir vu.
Because we cannot understand without seeing it. So it's spelled S-A-P-P-E-U-E-U-R.
Bien sapologie.
Or you can also spell.
You'll have to repeat.
Sure. S-A P another O.
P for
L,
parrot.
Yeah, P for parrot. O for orange. L for what's else? Lion. Another O for orange. J.
Sapola.
Sapology.
G.
Like J-Y.
J-I.
G-Y.
C'est pas J-I-E. Comme en français. Donc,
so this looks very French fashion types. Let me share on the screen. I actually wanted to so I wanted to know the traditional festivals. Is this a traditional festival adopting French look, or is this after the colonization?
Y a un peu, ça peut un peu ressembler aussi. Il y a une grande lutte culturelle derrière la SAP.
So there's a huge cultural fight behind this whole sapology, as it's called.
La SAP, c'est devenu une communauté et même
a community
et même une philosophie.
And a philosophy.
S'habiller extravagamment,
wearing extravagantly,
avec des grandes marques,
with really big brands.
Toujours être bien présenté.
To always be presentable.
Mais c'est effectivement né durant, juste après, si je ne me trompe pas, juste après la colonisation.
But yes, it was born just after colonization.
Et il y a même une journée spéciale.
And there's a special day
pour la SAP en RDC.
For fashion in DRC.
For SAP?
Yeah, SAP.
SAP is not just fashion. SAP is really a philosophy. It's saying that you have to be well dressed wherever you are going, and you have to be to have very wonderful clothes, and you can see Congolese are always well dressed. On prend très au sérieux.
When does that happen?
On prend très au sérieux le vêtement.
Oh, we're very serious about clothing.
Et peu importe où nous allons.
Wherever we go. When does that happen? Quand est-ce que ça se passe? La fête de la SAP.
Je pense que c'est en fin d'année. Tu peux vérifier pour moi, je dois être sûre.
I'll just check to be sure.
Parce que y a tout un quartier d'ailleurs.
There's a whole neighborhood.
Pour la SAP à Kinshasa.
For SAP or fashion in Kinshasa.
Appelé Matonge.
Called Matonge.
Vous pouvez, je crois qu'en octobre, si je ne me trompe pas.
I'm not sure if it's in October. I'm just checking.
No, it's okay. Just tell me the month. It's in October, right? October, November, in the winters.
Est-ce que c'est dans le froid? Dans le froid?
La question?
Oui, Elanga.
Elanga. Non,
La fête de la fête.
pas nécessairement.
Not necessarily.
Non. Tu as trouvé la date?
Okay,
Je
so
pense-
does it keep changing? Who decides when it happens? Or is it same day every year?
Est-ce que c'est la même date chaque année?
Oui, c'est la même période.
It's the same time frame, but not the specific date. The date changes.
Oh,
Okay.
La vérité, c'est que je dois aussi me renseigner
All
quand
right.
même sur le jour précis.
I have to check on the specific day,
Mais seulement, étant donné que c'est une
No
culture
problem.
populaire,
but because it's a, popular culture,
on est toujours sapé.
we're always well dressed.
We are always sapé. It's different
Amazing,
than
that's-
others.
Sape.
Yes, sapé, yeah.
Always sappy. So if I have to compliment you, I can say you are looking very sappy today.
Ah, thank you, Tanmay. Ah, great, thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
I can understand why you mentioned that clothing is a big industry and it has a good chance for investment. Even the story of the girl you said who had created a clothing brand and she had a good sale. Now I understand why is clothing so important and popular in your culture.
Je comprends pourquoi s'habiller ou encore le vestimentaire a une grande place et pourquoi tu faisais mention qu'il y a de la place pour cette industrie et comment même la jeune fille de 16 ans, a eu une bonne vente parce que c'était dans le vestimentaire.
Us Congolese, we are not simple with clothes. Sorry, it's not in our. We are not simple. We are sorry, but it's really difficult to see a Congolese with a t-shirt and jeans. We are always well dressed. We are always tiré à quatre épingles.
Neat, sparkling.
Is really in our culture, and chaque événement est une opportunité.
And each new event is an opportunity
de bien s'habiller.
to dress well.
Et même,
And even,
c'est très difficile de connaître les niveaux sociaux des gens.
And it's very hard to even know what the social background of people
Parce que tout le monde est bien habillé.
are because everybody is well dressed.
You can't know the social level
you
of
can't
person.
know if they're rich or not according to how they dress.
It's really, dans certains endroits, c'est impossible.
In certain places, it's impossible.
C'est pour ça qu'effectivement, le vestimentaire, c'est une industrie importante.
That's why, yes, clothing industry is very important.
If somebody had to come to Congo, what is the best activity you would recommend for them to do?
Ok. Visiter nos parcs.
Visit our national parks.
Nos parcs, parce que nos parcs ont beaucoup d'activités intéressantes, mais aussi beaucoup d'animaux assez rares.
Because they have very interesting activities within the parks and a very rare species of animals.
Et visiter la province qu'on appelle Congo central.
And visit the province called Central Congo.
Cette seule province, elle a 200 sites touristiques.
In that specific province, you have 200 tourist attractions.
Et parmi lesquels, ce sont surtout des sites touristiques naturels.
And they're mostly natural.
Je vais donner un exemple.
I'll give an example.
Il existe ce qu'on appelle la grotte des poissons aveugles.
There's this place called the blind fish's cave.
Parce que dans cette grotte, les poissons se trouvant dans cette grotte ne peuvent pas survivre en dehors.
The fish that live within this cave cannot survive outside of it.
Et ces poissons sont aveugles.
And they are blind.
Et quand vous entrez dans cette grotte,
and when you enter into that cave,
la pluie a taillé la grotte de telle sorte que ça ressemble presque à une maison.
The rain has shaped the stones around it so much that it looks like a house.
Il y a une forêt qui s'appelle la forêt des manguiers.
There's a forest called the mango forest.
Elle a toujours existé, on ne sait pas qui les a plantés.
It's always existed and we have no idea who planted them.
Il y a beaucoup d'endroits comme ça exceptionnels que vous pouvez découvrir dans la nature.
In the nature.
Si vous aimez la nature, vous êtes bienvenue au Congo parce
If you like the world, welcome to Congo.
Il y a encore beaucoup de sites qui n'ont pas été touchés par l'homme.
Because there are a lot of different sites that have never been touched by man.
Et qui ont des découvertes exceptionnelles.
And they have incredible discoveries.
Very interesting. I was checking out the images as you were mentioning. I want to quickly share my screen and show people who are still wondering where exactly is Congo. So, 1 second, let me pull it up. So, have you been to these places yourself?
Comment?
Est-ce que tu as déjà visité ces endroits toi-même?
Oui, certains. Some
Yes,
of them.
some of them.
Some of them. And some I'm just planning because 200 sites touristiques, c'est beaucoup.
Some I'm planning to visit because 200 attraction sites are not easy.
That's a lot.
All right. So, this is Congo, and Congo is in Africa, as you guessed. And if we zoom out, this is how big is Congo. Wow.
Mhm.
And Congo is actually at a equator. So this is the line of equator going through Congo.
Yes.
How is the weather like in Congo if you're living right at the equator?
Le temps situé à l'équateur. Nous y sommes.
Entre l'équateur et...
L'équateur, le temps qu'il fait, la température, le climat.
Ok, je sais pas comment dire ça en anglais. 30, généralement entre 30 et 30 degrés. 20 degrés.
It's usually between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius.
Il ne fait jamais froid,
It's never cold,
sauf dans les régions des montagnes.
only in mountainous regions.
Et bien sûr, quand dans la saison sèche, légèrement froid.
And of course, during the dry season, it's slightly cold,
Mais c'est vraiment un climat chaud.
but it's a hot climate.
Ah, ceux qui aiment nager aussi, bienvenue au Congo.
Yeah, those who like to swim, welcome to Congo.
Il y a des rivières très intéressantes pour la natation.
Interesting rivers for swimming.
Et effectivement des piscines aussi,
And you have swimming pools.
mais touristiques.
Yeah, that are open to tourists.
Amazing.
Mhm.
I see how green this is, guys. This is at the equator, and how this is, I think, one of the most greenest place you can see from a satellite image. The rainforest in Congos.
Oui, c'est la forêt équatoriale.
And I also believe that,
C'est la forêt équatoriale la plus
and I believe there are some specific species. I believe there are some specific species of chimpanzees and gorillas which only exist in Congo.
Y a-t-il des espèces spécifiques des chimpanzés et des gorilles qui n'existent que au Congo?
Oui, on a. Tu connais d'ailleurs, tu peux lui en parler, non? Il y a ce qu'on appelle les bonobos.
Yes, you have bonobos
qui ne sont qu'en RDC.
that only exist in the DRC.
D'ailleurs, que vous pouvez aussi visiter.
That you can also visit.
Parce qu'il y a toute une réserve pour eux.
Because you have a whole reserve for them.
C'est une catégorie de gorilles, de singes qui est très proche de l'homme.
It's a specific type of monkey or ape that is close to man, resembles man.
Beaucoup de rapports sociaux très intelligents.
In terms of even social behaviors that are very much like man.
Qui ne sont jamais atteints par la malaria.
They can't have malaria.
Et qui même ont développé tellement des rapports proches avec les humains.
That they've also developed so many social a social proximity with man.
Que dans la réserve officielle qui est appelée Lolaya Bonobo.
And that in the official reserve that they have for them, which is called Bonobo's Heaven.
Les mères qui les encadrent, les femmes qu'on engage pour les encadrer.
The women that are hired to take care of them.
Parfois, certaines sont renvoyées parce qu'elles deviennent très proches.
Some of them are fired because they become too close to these bonobos.
Elles développent un lien très fort.
Because they develop such a strong bond.
Beaucoup plus que ce qui n'est demandé.
That is stronger than what's supposed to be.
C'est vraiment mère-enfant.
It's literally like a mother and child.
Et pourtant, il faudrait un peu d'écart pour rester, pour pouvoir. Il faudrait un peu d'écart.
But whereas you're supposed to keep a certain distance because the idea is still to reintroduce them into the nature.
Exactement. Donc, merci. Donc c'est une catégorie de singes très intéressante que nous recommandons. Il y a beaucoup d'autres histoires assez intéressantes sur les bonobos, mais c'est des singes assez exceptionnels.
So there are a lot of different things about bonobos because they're very particular, and we highly recommend checking them out.
I think these were the main monkeys who were shown in the Rise of the Planet Ape movie. Yeah, you can see them walking.
C'est ça qu'on montrait dans les Planet Ape movies. Tu peux en parler. Il parle, ils sont. Please. Les gorilles de montagne.
So she's asking me to talk about mountain gorillas. You also get mountain gorillas within the DRC because we have specific types of gorillas that are found here specifically. And some of them, it's that the populations within the world are not as populous as they are within the DRC. So I think there's also a very interesting movie by DiCaprio on that.
Mm-hmm. I want to dive in deeper about the social behavior. You said they are very similar to humans, and that the ladies who work there are not allowed to live there. Can you explain us more about what is going on there?
Il dit il voudrait comprendre plus le côté social humain de ces bonobos parce que tu as fait mention que les femmes qui sont censées prendre soin d'eux, parfois se rapprochent un peu trop.
Oui, l'objectif, c'est effectivement, comme d'ailleurs tu l'avais dit, de les réinsérer dans la nature.
So the aim here is that they still get reintroduced into the wild. So it's a reserve. They want to be kept as untamed as possible.
Et ils ont des stratégies. Les bonobos sont très diplomatiques dans le règlement des conflits.
And bonobos are very diplomatic in the way that they deal with conflict.
Ça, c'est vraiment un des aspects rares chez certains animaux.
Which is very rare to find in different species.
Qui règlent les problèmes par la force.
That you find, especially with apes who deal with, fighting when they want to settle an issue.
C'est l'une des rares espèces qui est diplomatique dans les règlements de conflit.
That's one of the very rare species that are very diplomatic, that is diplomatic in the way that they handle conflict.
C'est l'un des aspects.
She was saying in terms of the women who take care of them, what she was saying is that the women who take care of them are not supposed to get too attached to them, and sometimes in some cases they get way too close, like a mother and child, and sometimes they have to be fired because they shouldn't get to that level of proximity, because within the reserve, one of the things we're trying to prevent is the idea, because this is conservation, so people shouldn't get the idea that monkeys should be pets. And when you get them to be so tamed, then it reinforces this idea within people's mindsets that these are pets to have, like family members, whereas the idea is for them to be kept within the reserves and then reintroduced back into the wild. So that's why they don't allow for the bond to become too close.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, amazing. What is one thing that you love the most about your country?
Quelle est la chose que tu aimes le plus de notre pays? Okay.
One thing.
Wow, it's hard. It's really hard, Je pense que c'est notre culture.
I think it's our culture.
Notre culture familiale, communautaire.
I think our collectivistic culture.
Le Congolais a le sens d'aide de l'autre.
Congolese people are have the Ubuntu spirit, what is called the Ubuntu spirit of the helping the other person.
Maintenant, parfois, c'est dans le mauvais sens. Donc, le Congolais va même protéger quelqu'un qui a tort.
the Congo. Sometimes it's dangerous because the Congolese person might even protect whoever is wrong.
Mais si c'est bien appris, ça apporte beaucoup parce que je pense.
But if it's something that's developed, then I think it's something that is very important.
Dans ce monde, il faudrait vraiment qu'on apprenne à être centré sur l'humain.
Because we need to remember that within our world, one of aspects to consider is always to remember and have the human being at the center of our thought and focus.
Donc, ça serait ça.
Voilà, that would be it.
What is one thing you want to change about your country?
Qu'est-ce que tu aimerais changer?
Le système politique.
Political system.
Et franchement, encore une fois, quand on parle de politique, quand on est congolais, il faut être très prudent.
Once again, when you're Congolese and you're talking politics, you need to be very careful.
Mais ce serait quand même effectivement d'avoir des changements radicaux.
And I think it would be to have radical changes in terms of
enlever la corruption,
remove corruption,
mettre les bons leaders aux bonnes places.
Have good leaders in good places.
On a tellement de ressources et tellement d'opportunités.
We have so many resources and so many opportunities.
Que maintenant, ce n'est vraiment pas la faute des communautés internationales ou quoi que ce soit.
International community's fault or anything.
C'est vraiment nous les acteurs internes.
It's us, internal.
Et donc, si vraiment je voudrais voir quelque chose changer, c'est le système politique.
And if there's one thing I want to see change, is the political system.
Awesome. There's another fun fact I wanted to share as you're watching the Google Maps. The Republic of Congo, and there are two countries. There's Republic of Congo and Democratic Republic of Congo. And the fun fact is their capital cities are the closest in the world. Like this is the capital of Republic of Congo, and this is Kinshasa, where Goretti is talking to us from. So this is the closest in the world.
Yes. So she says it's actually about 5 to 10 minutes away on speedboat. And you can see.
Do you travel frequently there?
Yeah, from time to time. And you can actually see Brazzaville from Kinshasa. It's just across the bridge.
Why are these two separate countries if they are Congo?
Pourquoi est-ce que c'est deux pays différents? Ça a toujours été.
Ils ont toujours été différents et même ils ont été colonisés par on a eu des colons différents.
Yeah, so they've always been different, and even our colonizers were different. They were colonized by the French, and we were colonized by the Belgium.
Mais nous sommes séparés par le fleuve Congo.
But the Congo River separates us.
And one more fun fact I wanted to ask. I had read that people in Africa are not taught how to swim. The parents don't teach their kids how to swim because of a fear. Is that true?
Est-ce que c'est vrai? Il a appris que les parents n'apprennent pas à leurs enfants à nager à cause de la peur. Est-ce que c'est vrai?
No, it's not true. It's not. Il y a beaucoup de très bons nageurs.
They are very good swimmers.
Et puis, il faut pas oublier qu'il y a beaucoup de régions de pêcheurs.
And remember that there are a lot of regions where people fish a lot.
Et donc, par conséquent, beaucoup de nageurs.
So that means there are a lot of people who actually
C'est surtout
swim.
dans les régions métropolitaines qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de nageurs.
Yeah, it's usually in metropolitan cities of regions that there are not a lot of swimmers.
Et généralement, à l'international, on rencontre les Congolais métropolitains.
And unfortunately,
that's good.
In outside of Congo,
because
you
the
find
article I read, I guess. Sorry.
She was saying
Can you repeat that?
Outside of Congo, you meet a lot of metropolitan Congolese. That's why they can't swim.
The article I read, maybe, I mean, Africa is a huge continent. I believe it was from Uganda or place like this, place near this river. From the image I can see, so good that people in Congo can swim. All right. So you are the most, you're the country with the most mineral resources. How does that feel? How does that make you feel?
Responsabilité.
That's a responsibility,
Yes, surtout responsabilité parce qu'on n'a pas d'excuses en fait.
especially responsibility because we have no excuse.
Et c'est aussi parfois challengeant
And it's usually a huge challenge
parce que vraiment c'est en mode vous avez toutes ces ressources mais vous ne faites rien.
because everybody is looking at you like you have all of these resources, but you don't do it.
But it's not just about resources, you know, it's about technology, it's about ecosystem, it's about leadership, it's about all of these things. So even if we have those resources, we have to add other things before creating what you want to create. So, ouais, c'est un peu ça. Donc, j'ai répondu à la question.
Did I
Got
answer
it.
the question?
Donc,
Yes, obviously, of course. If the other question is, what are your thoughts on India? What is your impression about India?
Quelle est ton impression de l'Inde?
I really want to visit India, you know. I'm really like, Bollywood gives me just a beautiful perception of India. J'aimerais avoir les bijoux que les Indiens
I
ont.
would like to have some of the jewelry that Indian people have.
Et j'aimerais goûter à la nourriture épicée.
I would like to taste the spicy food.
Mais pour revenir vraiment à d'autres aspects,
and to go back to other aspects,
l'Inde, par rapport à la RDC, est vraiment considérée comme un endroit d'éducation, surtout pour les universitaires.
India is considered, especially by a lot of Congolese people, within the field of university as a place to learn.
Beaucoup de Congolais préfèrent l'Inde pour avoir des formations, les coûts sont adaptés, les méthodologies sont apparemment compréhensibles et le peuple a une culture plutôt similaire aussi.
So people prefer to go to India for training or university because prices are not too high. Methods are pretty much advanced, teaching methods, and the community is more or less culturally like the Congolese people.
Et un autre aspect, vraiment un autre aspect de relation entre l'Inde et la RDC, c'est la médecine, la santé.
And another area that links the two of them is the medical field, health.
Beaucoup de Congolais préfèrent se faire soigner en Inde.
A lot of Congolese people go to India to get treatment, medical treatment.
Et même les collaborations locales en santé sont beaucoup avec des Indiens.
And even local hospitals have a lot of Indian doctors coming in and specialists.
Et aussi des produits, parce qu'on a pu comprendre qu'en Inde, il y a beaucoup de plantes intéressantes dans la santé.
And even in terms of medicine, medication, because we understand that in India there are a lot of plants.
Donc c'est un rapport.
For medicinal use.
Donc c'est vraiment ces deux aspects, je dirais, que sont les aspects principaux.
So these are the main two aspects.
En dehors, bien sûr, du business, où aussi il y a beaucoup de rapports avec l'Inde.
Outside of business, of course, which is also linked to India.
Et on reste des grands consommateurs du cinéma indien.
And we are one of the biggest consumers of Indian movies. Yeah.
Wow, very nice to hear that. What is your favorite movie?
What's your favorite movie? C'est quoi ton film préféré de indien?
C'est qui la série indienne? Vaidei. Do you know?
Do you know the Vaidei series? It's Vaidei.
Spell it.
Vaidei.
How can I spell it?
How do you spell
Shri series.
Vaidei. I think it's B-A.
Is it on Netflix?
No, it's not on Netflix, you know.
They sell CDs.
Is it an Indian movie or is it?
An Indian
Sorry?
series. An Indian series. So I think it's VAHIDEYI.
Vaidei.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of series. I don't know about them. It's a TV series.
We know all of them. I mean, we are really Vaidei, Monitery, Shri, or yes, you know.
So do you get them translated in French or do you watch it with subtitles?
C'est traduit en français.
Yeah, it's translated in French.
Okay.
On a une chaîne
So now
spéciale.
I'm going to ask you a set.
She says there's a specific channel.
So this
for
was one
Indian-
of the.
Mhm.
Okay. So we are coming to a signature round. That's the end of the session. In this, there are short answer questions and objective questions, subjective questions that we ask all the listeners. We'd love to have your views on them. So the movie was one of them. I'll just start from the top again. Name 3 people, living or dead, that you would like to have lunch with.
3 personnes vivantes ou mortes avec lesquelles tu voudrais avoir un dîner.
Ok. Premièrement, ça serait Barack Obama.
Firstly, would be Barack Obama.
Pour moi, c'est un modèle très, très inspirant et important.
For me, he's a very important role model and inspiring person.
La deuxième personne, ce serait la reine d'Angola,
Secondly, it would be the Queen of,
la princesse
the
d'Angola.
Princess of Angola.
C'était une princesse qui a vécu et qui a vraiment tenu tête aux colons.
She lived and she really faced colonizers head on.
Apprendre à faire face comme ça tout en restant diplomatique, c'est une inspiration pour moi.
Learning to face things head on while still being diplomatic is very inspiring for me.
Et la troisième personne, c'est vrai, on va beaucoup rester dans le leadership, ça serait John Maxwell.
The third person, as you can see, it's still leadership, would be John Maxwell.
Qui est il paraît l'un des meilleurs en leadership dans le monde. Et ce serait pour moi un honneur de
He's one of the most influential leaders in terms of leadership in the world, and I'd be honored to meet him.
Ce seraient les 3 personnes.
Those would be the 3 people.
And what question would you ask them?
Quelles sont les questions que tu leur poserais?
La première question que je leur poserais, c'est qu'est-ce qu'il ne faut surtout pas faire pour arriver là où vous en êtes?
The first question would be, what should I absolutely not do in order to arrive where you have arrived?
Et qui est-ce qu'il ne faut surtout pas être?
Whom would you ask this?
Qu'est-ce
So
que tu
these questions, one question to one person, like it can be different question for different people. So tell me, whom would you ask what?
À qui est-ce que tu demanderais quelle question?
À Barack Obama, je demanderais, bon, déjà à la reine, je lui demanderais qu'est-ce qu'il ne faut surtout pas faire.
To the queen, to the princess of Angola, I would ask her, what should I absolutely not do in order to arrive where you've arrived?
À John Maxwell,
John Maxwell,
je lui demanderais quel est le système qu'il a établi pour influencer, vraiment le système. Pas ce qu'il a fait, mais le système qu'il a établi.
I would ask him, what is the system that he established in order to influence like he did?
Et à Barack Obama,
And to Barack Obama,
la question que je pourrais lui poser pour un peu comment et à quels sont les compromis qu'il a dû faire en fait pour en arriver là.
and ask him what are the compromises he had to do in order to be the person that
Il faudrait
he
bien
became.
comprendre compromis, c'est vraiment pas dans le mauvais sens.
Not
mais le prix à
negatively
payer.
speaking, like what's the price he paid. When I'm talking compromises you had to make, it's not negative, but what's the price you had to make.
Et s'il faudrait résumer toutes ces questions en une seule,
And if I'd have to summarize all these questions into one,
quelles sont les fondations qu'ils ont mis en place pour être ce qu'ils sont?
what are the foundations that they established in order to be who they became?
Non, pas ce qu'ils ont fait, mais qui ils sont.
Who they are, not what they did, but who they are.
Next question. If today was the last day you lived? Like, you're going to be there no more tomorrow. What would you do today?
C'était la
Si
dernière
c'était
journée.
oui, qu'est-ce que tu ferais?
J'écrirai un petit livret de 30 pages avec ma vision du pays et de l'Afrique et du monde. J'irai sur la grande place.
I would write a little booklet, 30-page booklet with my vision of Congo and
L'Afrique et le monde.
and Africa and the world.
3 actions à mener par chaque être humain pour y arriver.
3 actions that each individual should do.
Peut faire pour réaliser cette
Should
vision.
do in order to accomplish this vision.
J'irai à la place de la gare centrale, l'une des plus grandes places du pays.
I would go to one of the most popular places in our country, which is a public place.
J'appellerai tous les journalistes.
And I'd call all journalists.
Et je lirai ça en anglais et en français.
And I'd read it in English and French.
Et puis je partirai.
And then I'd go.
C'est ce que je ferai.
That's what I'd do.
Wow. I would be there to clap. Next question. How to make money?
Comment faire de l'argent?
Yeah.
Okay, it's really simple, but simple to answer. Okay. Être vrai.
Be true.
Et offrir une vraie solution aux problèmes des gens.
And offer a real solution to people's problems.
Être innovant, effectivement.
Be innovative.
Mais être en avance.
And
réfléchir en avance.
And to think ahead and to, be ahead.
Et bien noter que j'ai dit être et pas faire.
And I said be and not do.
C'est vraiment une des grandes différences entre ceux qui vendent et ceux qui ne vendent pas.
That's a big difference between those who sell and those who don't.
Ils sont des vendeurs.
They are sellers.
Avant de vendre.
Before selling.
Ouais. Mm-hmm. Voilà, c'est ce qu'il faut faire.
That's
know.
what you do.
Yes. Next question. What is art for you?
Qu'est-ce qui est difficile pour toi?
Ne pas encore avoir accompli tout ce que je veux accomplir.
not having accomplished everything that I would like to accomplish.
Ce qui est très difficile, c'est de voir aussi des aspects qu'on peut améliorer et de voir que pour le moment, parfois on n'a pas le pouvoir de changer ces choses.
What's also hard is to see the areas that we would like to see change in and knowing that we don't have the power to change it quite yet.
Pour moi, ça, c'est difficile.
For me, that's very hard.
I do. Did you get my question? What is art for you?
Ah, qu'est-ce qui est difficile pour moi? Ah, ok.
Art.
Ah, ok, art. Je ne sais pas conduire un hélicoptère.
Oh, I don't know how to fly a helicopter.
J'aimerais bien.
I'd like
Mais en dehors de ça, ce qui est aussi difficile en ce moment, c'est I don't know if I understand your question. Is it okay? My difficulties. Ça, non?
I am trying to translate it in French. Una artiste. What the artists do? Art is what I'm asking. What is art? What is the meaning of art for you?
Art. Okay, like art as in like Mozart, music, painting.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Like all Congolese, I'm a great dancer. Je suis une bonne danseuse.
Like most Congolese, I dance well.
Je chante.
So I sing.
Je suis chanteuse depuis plus de 15 ans.
I've been singing for more than 15 years.
Et l'art de l'écrit aussi.
And also the art of writing.
J'ai et le talent et j'ai suivi et la formation pour exprimer ce talent.
I was born with it, but I've also had trainings in order to express this art.
Et il y a aussi un art particulier qui m'intéresse, c'est l'art ethnique.
And there's a specific art that's very interesting to me is the ethnical art.
Alors l'art ethnique, c'est un art, c'est la création des objets qui avaient un sens, un message transmis.
Ethnical art looks at objects that were created that had a special meaning.
On pouvait voir certaines statues voulaient dire que dans cette maison, il y a une femme enceinte.
So when you look at certain statues, you can see a figure in terms of figurines. You can see that in this house there was a pregnant woman.
Alors, je ne sais pas moi-même sculpter, mais je travaille beaucoup dans le sens de promouvoir l'art ethnique.
I don't know how to sculpt myself. However, I do a lot of promotion in terms of ethnical art.
Amazing. You said you sing. So can you sing a song for us in your native language?
Dis, c'est pas gratuit, mais bon, I want to sing. We can sing together. On peut chanter ensemble.
Il a dit dans ta langue.
Oui, je vais l'apprendre.
So she wants to teach you a song. You sing together.
Et c'est qui nous suivra.
Okay.
Is
Is it going to be French song?
Round song.
It's in Rund, like her name.
Matriarcal.
Okay,
The
cool.
tribes comes from.
Okay.
Maije wawa, maije wawa, maije wawa, maije wawa. Matambe wawa, matambe wawa, matambe wawa, matambe wawa. Can you try?
I just remember wow.
Bon, c'est pas grave, ça va.
No problem.
Ça signifie, c'est une chanson qui enseigne aux enfants les plantes qui existent.
It's a song that teaches children the plants that exist.
Nos ancêtres nous apprenaient les différentes plantes à travers cette chanson.
They would teach us different plants through this song, the ancestors.
Donc cette chanson dit littéralement, parmi les feuilles, parmi les légumes, il existe tel légume, tel autre légume, tel autre légume.
And what it literally means is that out of all the plants, you get this type and this type and this type.
Wow. Next question. What do you want to be remembered for?
Tu aimerais qu'on te souvienne de toi?
Pour avoir changé le système éducatif du pays.
For having changed the educational system within our country.
Et pour avoir créé le plus grand festival culturel de ce pays.
And for having the biggest cultural festival of our country.
Ouvert au monde entier.
Open to the entire world.
Vraiment offrir la culture au monde. Ce sont les deux choses que j'aimerais
offer our culture to the world. Those are the two things I'd like to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that would be very interesting. I would love to join. Next question. What is a life-changing advice you have received? What is your favorite advice?
Quel est un conseil qui a changé ta vie que tu as reçu? Quel est ton plus grand conseil?
Oui.
Un conseil qui a changé ta vie.
Croire dans la loi du processus. Vraiment.
Believe in the law of process.
Je me suis souvent mis beaucoup de pression.
I've put a lot of pressure throughout my life on myself.
Étant une femme dans un milieu très masculin,
and to be a woman in a very masculine environment,
j'ai vraiment cru plusieurs fois que je ne pouvais pas y arriver.
I've believed a lot of times that I couldn't accomplish things.
Jusqu'à ce que quelqu'un m'ait dit, tu dois croire au processus.
And one day somebody told me you need to believe in the process.
Et là,
trust the process.
Ça m'a changé.
And that changed me.
Wow. What is the most priceless gift you have ever received?
Quel est le cadeau sans prix, priceless, qui n'a sans prix que tu es le cadeau sans prix que tu n'aies jamais reçu?
La lettre de mon père quand j'étais à l'internat au village.
My father's letter when I was in the village at the boarding school.
On n'en avait pas le droit, mais moi, on m'avait fait cette faveur.
We didn't have the right to have letters, but I had the privilege of having one from my father.
Et cette lettre me disait littéralement que non seulement il croyait en moi, mais aussi que j'avais le droit d'être heureuse, mais aussi, il m'a fait comprendre que j'avais le droit d'être faible.
He told me that he believed in me, that I had the right to be happy, and he also told me I had the right to feel weak.
Et ça n'a pas de prix, que ça vienne de mon père.
And that is priceless because it's coming from my father.
Personne ne peut enlever ça.
Nobody can remove that.
C'est impossible. Et ça n'a pas de prix.
And it's
Beautiful.
priceless.
Beautiful. What is one thing you cannot live without?
Quelle est la chose sans laquelle tu ne peux vivre?
Ma Bible.
My Bible.
Je suis chrétienne aussi,
I'm also Christian,
comme la plupart des Congolais.
like most Congolese.
Mais ce livre est l'un des livres
This
les
book.
plus psychologiques que je n'ai jamais lu.
It's one of the most psychological books I've ever read.
Et donc, à chaque fois que j'ai eu un défi, il y a eu quelque chose dans ce livre qui m'a permis de relever le défi.
And every time I had a challenge, there was something within the Bible that allowed me to accomplish more.
Exactement. C'est impossible que je vive sans Bible. Impossible.
Impossible for me to live without my Bible.
Exactement.
Bible is a collection of books, right? So which Bible you read?
Ecclésiaste. Ecclésiaste dans la Bible, c'est Ecclésiaste.
Il dit qu'il y a
Une collection.
oui, une collection de livres. Quelle est la Bible que toi tu...
Différentes Bibles.
Non, le type de Bible.
Le type de Bible. Comment ça, le type de Bible?
Oui, je comprends.
Ah, semeur. La Bible qu'on appelle semeur.
There's a Bible called the Sower.
Et c'est très adapté au langage
It's
actuel.
very adapted to the current language.
Et très facile à comprendre.
Very easy to understand.
Alors, je ne vais pas m'embrouiller avec des Bibles difficiles à comprendre.
So I don't use very hard Bibles to understand.
Donc, la Bible du semeur.
So the one called the Bible of the Sower is the one I use.
Awesome. We'll look it up. What are your views on Metaverse?
Views on what?
Have you heard about Metaverse?
Could you spell that, please?
It's a virtual world like the Facebook is doing virtual world
Meta.
where you can go and
Meta?
interact with people.
Meta world, like META?
Yeah, Metaverse.
So are you saying worlds or wars?
Metaverse, what Facebook is doing and many other people are doing. I'm going to type it in for you.
Ok. Ah, je l'écris. Metaverse.
Okay.
Have you heard about?
Tu as entendu parler
Oui,
de ça?
bien sûr que j'ai
Yes,
entendu
I've
parler
heard
de ça.
about this.
Et en tant qu'éducatrice, je suis en train, moi-même, je réfléchis déjà à des méthodologies à mettre en place pour utiliser ça.
And as an educator, I'm thinking of ways to incorporate that into education,
Non,
to use
utiliser.
it,
Parce que de toutes les façons, ça va arriver.
because it's going to happen, whether
Mais-
we like it or not.
Mais il faut juste être préparé
You just need to be ready for it.
et choisir à quel moment, qu'est-ce qu'il ne faudra pas utiliser avec, qu'est-ce qu'il ne faudra pas, comment il ne faudra, qu'est-ce qu'il faudra éviter
What to avoid
et qu'est-ce qu'il faudra garder.
and what to keep.
Et on va utiliser Metaverse, mais selon nos objectifs.
We're going to use Metaverse with our own goals in mind.
Wow, amazing. You are a very futuristic educator. You're always in touch with what is coming next, and that's what is needed, right? I really appreciate that.
Thank
One question, next question is, what is on your bucket list next?
Bucket list, c'est la liste des choses à faire.
Ok. J'espère que tu es prêt. I hope that you are ready for that, Tanmay. Ok, dans la liste vraiment des choses que je voudrais faire,
In the list of things I would like to do,
je voudrais sérieusement faire le tour du monde.
I'd literally
One thing.
Ah,
one thing
faire le tour du monde.
to go around the world.
Je travaille déjà à changer ma communauté.
I'm already working towards changing my community.
Et je pense que voir ce qui se passe à travers le monde va m'enrichir et me permettre de donner plus.
And seeing what is happening around the world is going to enrich my knowledge and see what I can bring more.
Et je vais aussi faire ce tour pour donner à chaque communauté.
And I also like to go around the world in order to give to different communities differently.
Et aller à travers le monde, ça se fait aussi sur Internet.
And that's something I can also do through internet.
So,
Like we are doing now.
yeah.
Exactly. What gets you excited about the future?
Qu'est-ce qui me rend excitée par rapport au futur? Voir que des visions, des choses que nous sommes déjà en train de planifier vont vraiment prendre vie et savoir que dans le futur, beaucoup de maladies seront réduites, beaucoup de problèmes seront facilement réglés.
To see that some of the things we're putting in place now will come to life in the future. That's one of them. And also to see that in the future, a lot of the challenges we have would have been solved, like illnesses, for example.
Ça m'excite
That's
vraiment.
something that's very exciting for me.
C'est même, ça me fait vraiment plaisir.
Yeah, it really gets me happy.
The next questions were, what is your favorite movie, your favorite book, and your favorite food, which you have already answered in the episode. So I'll go to the next question. What do you like to do for fun?
For fun, qu'est-ce que je fais pour m'amuser? Manga.
I watch mangas.
Really, I'm really Japanese with manga, you know. De la même façon que je suis les séries indiennes, eh bien, je lis des mangas
The
japonais.
same way I watch Indian movies, I read Japanese mangas.
C'est très efficace.
That's what I do.
Name your favorite manga.
Naruto Uzumaki, you know. Tu ne peux pas dépasser ce siècle sans lire Naruto Uzumaki.
You just can't go within this century without having read Naruto.
It's the best one.
Naruto. I haven't read.
Okay.
Okay,
Please
I'll
try.
read it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll watch the cartoon first and then I. But it's a very long series. I believe it's a very long, like you need to spend a lot of time to watch all of the episodes. So that's why.
Really, yes.
Because
Yeah.
once I start something, I need to finish it. I'll be spending all the days of the week to maybe finish it. That's why I'm avoiding to watch.
Ça va prendre des années. Moi,
It
j'ai
will
fini
take
ça
you
en 6
years.
ans. Donc,
She finished it in 6 years. It took her 6 years to finish.
so you have to go
Wow.
part by part.
Sometime in future. Goretti, one question about entrepreneurship, which I couldn't ask in the beginning. You're a big entrepreneur and you're teaching entrepreneurship. One common question I have from principals or who have started institutes is about funding, and other is about like funding from donations and funding from fees of the students. Many students don't pay on time, so and the funding from donations. How do you manage them?
Beaucoup de challenges qu'ils reçoivent des promoteurs des écoles, c'est que les gens ne payent pas les frais scolaires à temps et que ceux qui doivent faire des dons aussi ne donnent pas forcément comme il faut. Alors, qu'est-ce que toi tu fais pour remédier à ça?
Ok. Il y a 2 aspects déjà.
There are 2 aspects specifically.
Nous avons, pour les jeunes payants, nous avons choisi une cible qui a le pouvoir d'achat.
We chose a specific bracket that could afford the fees that we have.
Mais aussi, c'est le bon côté, ou plutôt le côté très social des églises aussi.
But also the social side of churches.
Beaucoup d'églises payent pour des adolescents.
A lot of churches pay for their teenagers.
Et un autre aspect aussi, c'est qu'il y a des entreprises dans leur stratégie de RSE, responsabilité sociale de l'entreprise.
And there are certain enterprises in their social responsibilities,
Finance pour que beaucoup d'enfants aient accès à nos programmes.
that fund so that a lot of children have access to our programs.
Donc, ce sont ces 3 sources.
So these are the three sources.
Des entreprises à travers leur stratégie de responsabilité sociale.
Enterprises through their social responsibility.
Des églises.
Churches.
Et des personnes qui ont le pouvoir d'achat.
And people who can afford to pay.
Donc, ce sont les trois moyens pour nous d'avoir de l'argent.
These
Maintenant,
are the three ways that we get money.
Nous avons aussi collaboré avec des partenaires internationaux,
Now we have international partners also.
qui financent pour
That
qu'un
fund.
maximum de personnes puissent avoir accès à nos
So that more people have access to our
Par
programs.
exemple, je peux le citer, il y a Segal, la fondation Segal, qui est très présente aussi,
I can name one, which is called a Segal Foundation.
qui est aussi très présente.
That helps a lot.
Awesome. One more question. This is institute and money, but other part is about employees and teachers. So how do you get all the teachers and how do you keep them? Many a times teachers just leave and go to other schools or come back, or sometimes it's difficult to find the teachers. How have you managed to get the teachers and keep them?
Comment tu fais pour les professeurs pour les garder? Parce que beaucoup de professeurs pourraient bien essayer de bouger.
Les professeurs sont heureux de trouver de l'emploi parce que c'est pas facile pour eux en fait.
Teachers are happy to get a job because it's not easy for them to get jobs.
It's really difficult for teachers to get jobs in DRC. So if they can find a part-time job, working with Minzoto Club means having a part-time job for teachers. And we are hearing professionals which are des professionnels expérimentés dans les domaines.
We have experienced experts
qui interviennent,
within different areas that
qui interviennent dans nos ateliers.
We call to during our workshops.
Amazing. I want to suggest you something. I mean, you should check out the tuitions industry which is happening in India, which they teach students online. Many people can have access to that, and you could read up. I have a different view about how much to send for tuitions and how to not. But as an educator, you might find some insights about how you can reach more people through internet and teach them in all of your country.
It went off. Could you please repeat?
Can you please repeat?
In India, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello.
So in India, can't you hear me?
Now it's
Hello.
okay.
Now it's okay.
Okay, so I was asking, read about tuitions and education system in India.
Sur les frais académiques en Inde. Il faudrait que tu lises dessus.
Okay. Okay.
So we can talk that after this. I'll give you some insights on that. And thank you very much for coming to the show. It was great discussion today and very nice to know about Congo and to know about you. Are there any final words or concluding words that you want to share with everybody?
Je pense vraiment qu'il y a beaucoup de similitudes entre l'Inde et la RDC.
I think there are a lot of similarities between India and DRC.
Même si l'Inde est vraiment un gros continent.
Even though India is like an entire continent.
Donc pour moi, c'était aussi un plaisir d'avoir ce partage.
So for me, it was a great joy to have this sharing of experience.
Et si j'aimerais dire un mot à chaque personne qui nous écoute.
And if I'd like to say something to everybody that's listening to us.
C'est cette phrase qui a changé aussi ma vie.
Is the same sentence that changed my life.
Croire au processus.
Trust in the process.
Que nous soyons indiens ou congolais.
Whether we're Indian or Congolese.
Ou français.
French.
Dans tous les domaines de nos vies.
In all areas of our lives.
Croyons dans le processus.
We need to trust in the process.
Et ça va aller.
And it's going to be okay.
Voilà, merci.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would quickly want to see our translator and thank her for translating and making this session a success. So can you just come in the front of camera and tell us your name?
Hi, Tanmay. My name is Doucette Kayumbu.
Are you also a teacher in the institute?
Well, not really. Sometimes I do consultation because I work in psychology specifically. So why not?
All right. Thank you so much. We'll connect with you. Do connect with me on LinkedIn and all the places you have.
All right.
Yes, it was a great session. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.